What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 10BS 201. The Strongest Blow, Fire Dragon Torch Rising Dragon Flame 8 Trigrams vs. One Punch. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. What? Where are my subordinates? Azure Dragon Kaido is hovering in the sky and has just used explosives to blow up Onigashima and Ron to death. In the midst of happiness, I never expected when the smoke cleared. There was not a single one of his subordinates standing on the ground. In such a short period of time, he was actually killed and turned into a mere commander. Hateful. I was just happy that I finally killed Ron. Who would have thought? All his men had been killed so quickly. This was the power he had accumulated over decades, and it was all gone in such an instant. Then wouldn't all his decades of hard work be in vain? Who came out to be a pirate, not to become the Pirate King? To become this Pirate King, he had worked hard to accumulate 593 for decades. Use smile fruit to cultivate your power. It all started bit by bit, and the hard work of these decades has been wiped out in an instant. Kaido looked down blankly. There were corpses lying all over the place, but they were all his own people, not a single marine. Hateful. He wouldn't be so angry even if half of marine was lying down there. Those who die are all one's own. Who can bear this? Are these smile fruit users so weak that not a single marine has been killed? These three admirals actually went out to bully their own subordinates. Damn it, you don't have martial ethics. Advertisement. Kaido was angry. He turned directly into a human form and took out a mace from nowhere. Attracting lightning from the dark clouds, wrapped the Conqueror's hockey around the iron rod along with the lightning bolt. Then he shouted loudly, "Drunk Loon Lei Yin Nai Luo." Then it smashed down from the air in the direction of the warship. Kaido intends to treat others with his own medicine. Since their leader ended up killing all his subordinates, then he will rush into the marine and kill all the marine soldiers. With his strength, it is actually not difficult to kill all the marine soldiers. Not good. This guy's target is a warship. He wants to kill the marines. Akainu was in midair when he suddenly saw Kaido change direction. He passed everyone and rushed directly towards the marine soldiers in the rear. Akainu's expression changed involuntarily. I didn't expect that this guy Kaido doesn't have martial ethics. This is to ignore them and go straight to marine. Kizaru, stop him quickly. Akainu certainly knew that these marine soldiers were no match for Kaido. If Kaido really rushes in, it will really be a massacre. How many casualties will it cause? It's really countless. And if Kaido rushes into the marine crowd, so even if the three admirals wanted to stop him, they wouldn't be able to attack with ease because they were surrounded by marines. It would be terrible if they were accidentally injured. So the top priority now is not to let Kaido rush in. Otherwise, the situation has reached a point where there is no way to control it. Advertisement. Hateful. Kizaru also knew the seriousness of the matter. Immediately turned around and prepared to intercept Kaido. However, Kaido's speed was too fast and he was caught off guard again. Because no one thought that Kaido would rush to the marine soldiers. So there is no one to defend this side at all. Kaido is about to rush over. 3. The expressions of Admiral and Sengoku became particularly ugly. But at this moment, suddenly, a figure rushed out from the smoke of the Onigashima explosion. Extremely fast. When Kaido was about to rush into the crowd, the mace wrapped with lightning was about to hit several marine warships. The figure came to Kaido in an instant. Bang! He grabbed the mace directly with one hand. The huge force was released in an instant and poured into the ground. With a bang, the ground exploded directly, until now. Only then did everyone see this figure clearly. It's Inspector General Ron. Great, Inspector General Ron wasn't killed. HMPH, this man is indeed very tough. He made me worry for nothing. Akainu let out a long sigh of relief. It seems like I don't have to wait to take action now. With the Inspector General here, there won't be any problems. Kizaru also stabilized his body and said. Fell from the sky. Sengoku couldn't help but sigh. Can anyone survive an explosion like that? It's really scary. The moment Ron returned, Marine's morale greatly increased. Seeing the figure holding Kaido's mace right in front of him. Advertisement. These Marines couldn't help but start partying. The voice called Ron's name. Kaido's expression changed. Looking at Ron coldly. Impossible. Why weren't you killed? No one can survive in the center of such an explosion. Ron raised his head and looked at Kaido. Kaido, what are you doing? Are you planning to harm these lovely subordinates of mine? Ron's voice was very cold and his tone was heavy, which made people shudder. Humph, you were the first to do it. You killed my subordinates first. I was just treating them the way they did. Kaido said through gritted teeth. Originally, he was still a little scared when he faced Ron, but when he saw that all his subordinates had been killed by Marine, Kaido, who had nothing left, was now fearless. I just want to kill more Marines for revenge and make Marines pay a bigger price, make them regret it. But he didn't expect that Ron had not been killed and would appear in front of him to stop him. Listen up, you guys. No matter what happens next time, you can't all leave the army at the same time. 5.0 must stay and guard the field alone. Do you understand? If I find out that the enemy has taken away the base camp again, I will throw you all into the sea to feed the fish. Ron did not forget to educate the three admirals at this moment. Three admirals' face darkened. The familiar Ron is indeed back, and I was right about this. Since you came just in time, let me give you a taste of my full blow. Kaido let go, gave up the mace in his hand, and then transformed into a green dragon, quickly flying through the sky. The entire dragon body was ignited with blazing fire, and the whole body was surrounded. Then it reversed direction directly in the sky. Target Ron. Give a loud shout, then a dive. Fire dragon torch rising dragon flame 8 trigrams. 202. How powerful is the bald head who strikes with all his strength? Second Kaido. Punch through the moon. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement fire dragon torch rising dragon flame 8 trigrams. This time it is Kaido's truly strongest skill. He hasn't used this trick for a long time. But now, Kaido knows very well that if he doesn't use this move and doesn't go all out, then he will have no chance. That being the case, so what else do you care about? Just use your strongest move to decide the outcome. The king becomes the king and the bandits are defeated in one fell swoop. Kaido's whole body quickly burst into flames. Haki is on the body, covered layer by layer. Like a torch. There was so much at the moment, it lit up half the sky with its own strength. The dark clouds in the sky are all in the shape of Uzumaki. Converging towards the middle, suddenly there was lightning, thunder, and wind and rain. Countless thunder and lightning fell directly from the sky. The crackling sound is endless. Kaido stands under this thunder and lightning. The moonlight shines on me, like a demon god coming to the world. The momentum exuded, 15 even heaven and earth trembled. Come on, bald brat, even now I still don't believe you can kill old man Whitebeard. Show your true skills, I want to see if you are as powerful as the legend says. Kaido shouted loudly, the huge dragon body hovers in the sky. Then it swooped down directly, just in time. Ron suddenly raised his head and looked at Kaido. This is what 4 emperors should be like. With the power you have shown now, I recognize you, Kaido. Advertisement. With this attack of yours, I would like to call you the strongest 4 emperors. Ron's expression suddenly changed, and his originally slumped look became extremely depressed. Kaido heard this. I couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha. Really, what a loud tone. Then, the speed of descent accelerated a bit. This momentum. It seems to be able to penetrate the entire earth. Ron's knees were slightly bent, then he kicked down hard. The entire ground exploded directly. The cracked lines spread quickly, and then there was a bang on the ground, and a large courtyard appeared. The huge reaction force pushed Ron upwards at high speed. Ron raised his head and held his arms close to his hips, like missiles. Charged towards Kaido. When flying into the air, it was less than 50 meters away from Kaido. Go towards each other according to the speed of the two. It only takes a few tenths of a second for them to collide. Everyone couldn't help but hold their breath, watching this scene with concentration. With the two at the center, Red Conqueror's Haki lightning crackled and intertwined. The entire space seemed to have countless spider web cracks. Covered half of the sky. This is the strongest blow between the two strongest men in the world. Ron suddenly raised his right fist, gathered it at his waist and gathered all his strength. Then he shouted loudly. A full blow. Ron has never attacked with all his strength since he came to the pirate world. Although the current progress of One Punch physique is more than 60% and less than 70%. But it was far ahead of its time. Ron didn't know how powerful his rights and attacks were. Because he didn't have a reference, he never used it. Even when he watched One Punch Man in his previous life, Saitama had never used his full strength like this. At most, it's just a serious punch, advertisement. But how can seriousness and effort be the same thing? The two are not on the same level at all. Just take advantage of this opportunity today. Ron wanted to see it. How powerful is One Punch Man's full blow? Even if it's just over 60%. At this moment, a space Uzumaki seemed to be formed above Ron's fist. The visible vortices of gas, all come together. It's as if the space here has been extracted into a black hole. Can suck everything in. The space above the fist is distorted. Not only that, a layer of extremely dark armament Haki flows directly upward. Immediately afterwards, the black and red Conqueror's Haki also wrapped around it. Since it is full strength, then Ron didn't hold back at all. Gather all the power you can use now here. The two-color Haki gathered almost in full force. In an instant, Ron's momentum soared, terrible. This is the feeling that occurs in the hearts of everyone who sees this scene at the same time. Like a world-destroying demon. 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. Fire dragon torch rising dragon flame 8 trigrams. Punch with all your strength. The air between the two is compressed to the ultimate, even creating the visual effect of gas escaping. Kaido looked ferocious. Ron also frowned, with the speed of the two reaching ultimate. The distance between the two finally shrunk to 0. Ron suddenly threw a punch at this moment. Advertisement. This punch carried all the strength in his body. Kaido also used all his power, bringing Haki and Fruit abilities to ultimate. There was a bang. The two collided directly, in an instant. A huge sonic boom circle spread rapidly. A huge roar hit the sea, instantly causing huge waves hundreds of meters high to rise on the entire sea surface. The two clashed for less than 0.1 seconds. Next moment, the winner was determined by 227. Ron's attack seemed to pause for a moment, and then he attacked directly. Kaido was submerged in an instant. Kaido's expression at the last moment was nothing but horror, and then he was swallowed up by this huge impact. The entire sky flashed with dazzling white light. This punch is thrown out. The impact visible to the naked eye is tens of thousands of meters thick. Like the Milky Way flowing backwards, soaring straight into the sky. After engulfing Kaido, he didn't pause for a moment and rushed upwards. And that direction, it's the moon. Today, it's a full moon. All the Marines had no time to be surprised by Kaido's death, because it was too fast. This confrontation did not feel evenly matched at all. It was completely a one-sided crushing. Kaido didn't even last 0.1 seconds, it has turned into dust. And at this moment, everyone looked up in the direction of Ron's attack. With the blessing of various Haki, the shockwave generated by Ron's punch took on a shape visible to the naked eye. It has an invisible impact, thanks to the blessing of two-color Haki, with black and red lightning around the outline. So everyone can also see the shape and direction of the shockwave. And that direction, it's the moon. 203. The family of gods is awakened and Uranus is activated. Real enemy. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The night sky is like a black cloth. And Ron's punch, like a sharp blade, cut open the black cloth directly. Divide the entire sky into two parts. This kind of visual impact will never be forgotten once you see it once. Everyone present counts as one, whether it's a minion or an admiral. They all looked at the sky with their mouths open. It was difficult to close the mouth for a while. So surprised, so scary. Is this a power that humans can achieve? Because it was already dark, any light in the sky was particularly obvious. For example, the moon hanging high in the sky. For example, the combination of white light and black lightning struck by Ron's punch. It was so obvious in this dark night sky. Everyone is holding their breath now. Watching the impact cut through the darkness, heading towards the only point of light in the sky. And there is the moon. Is it really possible to hit this far? Can a human punch really hit the moon? No one believes it. But even so, I had to look forward to it. Because the distance between the two is extremely far. No matter how fast the attack is, you can still clearly see his movement trajectory from a distance. It's like drawing a straight line with a white pen on a piece of black cloth. This straight line connects to the moon. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. Advertisement. The speed of the white shockwave is extremely fast. Continuously shrink the distance. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it is responding to the expectations in everyone's hearts. Can it hit? Can, able, right in front of everyone's eyes? 8/10, 9/10. Hit. The white shockwave directly hit the sky, under the only light. There was a bang, although everyone can't hear the sound. But my heart also trembled inexplicably. Huge impact. Then the white disk in the sky trembled visibly. Hit. It really hit the mark. A human being stood on the earth and punched the moon. At this time, no one cares about the protagonist of this battle anymore. No one cares about Kaido anymore. He has become the least important link. Everyone is concerned about what is happening to the moon. What effects will this punch bring? It will be like a pebble thrown into the sea. It will only cause ripples. Still like a boulder thrown into a stream. What kind of result will it be? Everyone wants to know the answer. I saw only a white disk in the night sky, after trembling for a few times. Suddenly, advertisement. A huge hole appeared directly. It became pitch black. In the original full moon state, a huge black spot appeared in the middle. It takes up about 1/4 of the white disk. That is to say, the middle of the moon is empty. He was knocked out by this punch. Since there is nothing in the middle, that means there is no way to reflect the sun's rays. So, from the perspective of the Earth, there is no reflection there, so the scene before us appeared. 10 large black spots appeared in the middle of the originally translucent white rock disk. Everyone gasped. I couldn't come back to my senses for a long time. They really couldn't believe it. Even if I see it with my own eyes now, I still can't believe it. There are actually humans who can punch a through ball with 10 punches. What kind of monster is this? How can it be? How on earth did he do it? This has gone beyond the pirate world's understanding of power. They simply can't imagine how powerful this power is. The moon has never appeared in this shape since its existence. The moon waxes and wanes, and it gradually changes from a crescent moon to a full moon, and then gradually degenerates into a crescent moon. But there is an empty space in the middle. A disc is now a donut. It lasted for a while. Only then did everyone come back to their senses from the surprise, as if the souls that had been pulled out had returned. Everyone looked at Ron from the sky. It's this man. Penetrated the moon. This is no longer a power they can understand. Exaggerated beyond belief. Advertisement wherever there is a shadow of Kaido at this moment, he has already been beaten into dust. No one cares about Kaido anymore. In other words, from now on, the roads will never be full again. Every 15th day, everyone will see donuts appearing in the night sky. No matter how many years pass from hereafter, as long as people look up and see this donut. It reminds me of a man who punched through the moon with one punch. No matter how many years pass, this donut is an ever-present reminder in the sky. Don't break the law and be a good person. However, at this moment, a scene that no one noticed happened quietly on the moon. The originally dead moon. At this moment, many robots suddenly appeared. Start working non-stop. Ron's punch killed Enel, who had just flown to the moon. Thunderfruit was reborn on the moon, and thunder energy activated lunar technological life. The moon is quietly changing. Countless robots with long wings began to be busy on the moon. And in the core of the moon, a sleeping man suddenly opened his eyes. It was Uranus, who had never appeared before. Uranus, like Poseidon, is not a specific weapon. The three ancient weapons are not products of the earth, but the technology of the clan of gods, Zhao Haojiao, 800 years ago. 800 years ago, the moon people, who claimed to be a race of gods, came to the earth with technology far ahead of their times. Want to colonize the earth? The people of the earth at that time united and paid a huge price to force the clan of gods back. Pluton and Poseidon were left in the lower world, and Uranus was brought back to the moon. Today, there are still many descendants of the god clan on the earth, and they are the Sky Islanders with wings. The people who joined forces to defeat the god clan later formed the world government. Its original intention is to gather the power of the entire human race together so that when the clan of gods come back in the future, they can defeat them again. But as time passed, the organization gradually changed its flavor, and no one remembered their mission anymore. Several Iman have made the world government a mess for their own selfish interests. It wasn't until the appearance of the Ron siblings that the world government was slightly brought back on track. 204. Destroy One Piece and stop the pirates' thoughts. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement now. Kaido's death doesn't seem to matter anymore. All of everyone's attention is now attracted by the moon with a hole in the middle of the sky. This feeling is really shocking. Today is obviously supposed to be a full moon. But the moon took on the shape of a donut. The middle is empty. Sengoku couldn't help but gasp. Look away from the moon in the sky. Then looked at Ron. This was the first time he really saw Ron's strength. Before, I always felt that this guy was holding back and never used his full strength. But today, he finally saw the man's full attack. It's just that he never expected it to be so scary. This attack is really exaggerated. I don't know how to describe my current mood. For those who feel the same way as Sengoku, there is also Zephyr. As the same old marine, they can be said to be well informed. They have basically seen everything on this sea at any time. Experienced strong men like Rocks. I have also seen men like Roger. He also fought against men like Whitebeard several times. They have crossed paths with almost all the powerful men in this sea. In terms of vision, no one is probably broader than them. But even so, when they saw this scene today, they still took a breath of cold air. Totally can't believe someone could do this. That's the moon. Kizaru patted his chest at this time and said with some fear. 693 EH. It's so scary. Fortunately, I didn't continue to anger this man. It seems that when the Inspector General taught me a lesson before, he really held back. Advertisement, otherwise, I would have been beaten to death by the Inspector General long ago. Yuan-san Admiral, they have seen Ron attack several times, so they have a certain understanding of Ron's strength. But even so, at this moment, my heart was also shocked. As for the two later additions, Admiral Fujitora and Green Bull, it was their first time seeing Ron take action. Have to say, it had a considerable psychological impact on the two of them. How can one cultivate to become so powerful? Does Marine still need Admiral? He alone is enough. It is completely worthy of thousands of troops. Others seem redundant in Marine. Everyone in Wano Kuni also saw this scene, although their strength is relatively low. But with the visual impact this scene brings, even a fool knows what it means. Where else can I see Kaido now? It must have been beaten into thin air. The pirates who pioneered the pirate group were wiped out by the three admirals. It can be said that Kaido has basically been wiped out. At this time, Ron fell from the sky, landed on the warship. Order your men to finish. Ron ordered to the three admirals and Sengoku. Now that the overall situation has been decided, there are only a few pirates left. At this time, just ask Marine to clean up. Sengoku nodded, said, "Don't worry, leave the rest to me." "Were you not injured in the previous explosion?" Sengoku is still a little worried, after all, although Ron's attack power is very strong. But humans are made of flesh after all. Previously Ron was at the center of the dynamite explosion. It is really hard to imagine that he would not say anything about his injuries. It's a miracle that he survived. Ron shook his head and said. Advertisement, no injuries. Hearing what Ron said, Sengoku nodded with relief. Subsequently, Marine spent 3 days in Wano-kuni, killing all the remaining pirates around him. And in a corner of Wano-kuni, Kaido's daughter Yamato was found. It was difficult for Marine to deal with this guy for a while. After all, strictly speaking, she is not actually a pirate. And this guy hasn't done anything bad, it's just that his identity is more sensitive. She's just Kaido's daughter. Apart from this identity, she doesn't seem to have any obvious black spots. So Marine couldn't make up his mind on how to deal with such a person. So I ran over and started asking Ron, let it go. Ron said calmly, but she is Kaido's daughter after all. Sengoku was a little worried, he was afraid that Yamato would take revenge on Marine if he went out. This is always a problem. Ron shook his head and said. We Marine must be principled in doing things and cannot arrest people based on our own preferences. Since she is not a pirate and has not done anything bad, there is no need for us to arrest her. However, BFCF, she may commit crimes in the future. After all, she is Kaido's daughter. Who can guarantee his true nature? Sengoku said. That's for the future. We won't punish things that don't happen in the future. Ron shook his head, indicating that the matter was over and there was no need to continue the discussion. Then, after confiscating the diary of Kazuki Oden from Yamato's hand. Just let her go. Yamato looked confused. She originally thought that the best outcome for herself would be to be captured by Marine and put in prison. After all, she is Kaido's daughter. It really makes no sense to let him go so easily. And although she had never left the island, she always listened to Kaido's men discussing Marine and heard a lot of bad things about Marine. So Yamato thought Marine was not a good person either. But I never expected it. The result was somewhat unexpected. Advertisement Marine is so reasonable. The reason why Ron confiscated Kazuki Oden's diary was because he wanted to see what was written in it. After all, One Piece is an unstable factor. If he is allowed to exist all the time, someone will always miss him. So he took the risk and went into the sea to become a pirate. Go find this so-called great treasure. This guy Roger, just because of his words, caused the entire ocean to be in turmoil for more than 20 years. It's really abominable. So Ron decided to find the One Piece and return it to Marine, or destroy it. Then make it public. Let everyone stop worrying about this great secret treasure. Fundamentally solve people's boring pirate dreams. After arranging everything here properly, Ron took all the Marines and started to go home. Wano-kuni has now returned to normal order, and the weapons factory is operating normally. Moreover, this place has been heavily taken over by Marine troops. Ron kept 5 warships in Wano-kuni just to control the weapons factory. Keep Wano-kuni firmly in Marine's hands. Later, Ron sent out a fleet to deal with Punk Hazard's Geisa. After all, this guy has been in charge of Kaido's smile fruit experiment. Many innocent children were used as guinea pigs. The crimes he committed were simply more heinous than pirates. Of course Ron wouldn't let him go. This time the fleet was led by Zephyr, followed by Green Bull, with a total of 5 warships. Racing towards the starry night of Punk Hazard, Ron also took the remaining Marines back to the headquarters. After 2 days of rest, the day before World Summit starts, Ron suddenly said to Sengoku, Kong, the commander-in-chief of the entire army, seems to have no need to exist anymore. Ron wants to unify all military agencies and make the army unique. The current power of the military organization is too decentralized, including the Marine and Army, as well as the world government's escort army, intelligence agencies, and government forces. The military is too decentralized and the power is not centralized. This will cause great problems in the coordination between the parties, and many times they cannot cooperate perfectly. Ron's next step in reform is to integrate all these military institutions. Unified jurisdiction, then the commander-in-chief of the 3 armed forces must be operated on. 205. Use Kong to operate and release the military power with a glass of wine. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Sengoku was frightened by Ron's plan. This is equivalent to touching a lot of people's cheese. After all, The reason why the world government has so many military institutions is entirely because they are independent of each other. Many people have started their own small circles, cultivated their own cronies, and turned military institutions that should have belonged to the world government into their own private armies. This situation is very common. For example, this was the case with the previous CP9. He was completely controlled by this guy's spandom and became his private armed force. There are many phenomena like this throughout Marine. This is the disadvantage caused by the lack of centralized power and difficulty in management. To completely solve these problems, central management must be unified. Ron's step is to take back military power. He wants to bring all the military power scattered outside into the hands of the world government. This will undoubtedly touch the cheese of many people and make many vested interest groups unhappy. If it is not done well, it will seriously damage the entire military organization. So, this is indeed a very troublesome matter. This is why Sengoku was so surprised when he heard Ron's decision. This is a big project, even more troublesome than dealing with the 4 emperors. How could those leaders who have worked hard in various positions for many years willingly hand over their military power? You can't use robbing to deal with your own people, right? It won't sound good if word spreads like this. Advertisement, it will scare other managers. I think we don't need to rush it now. It's not too late to discuss this matter later. Now let's prepare for the World Summit. After all, it will be held tomorrow, and this is the top priority. Now there are no big pirates on the sea, and the rest are just some shrimps. It's time to open up shipping routes from various countries. We also have enough capabilities to ensure the safety of the route. Sengoku said. Ron nodded. Of course this matter must be put on the agenda, but the matter of recovering military power is the highest priority. If I don't bring back all our troops, my subsequent actions may very well cause a mutiny. Sengoku couldn't help but shudder when he heard this. Judging from Ron's words, he has bigger plans in the future. So where do we start? Sengoku asked. Just start here at Kong. You should contact him now and ask him to come over. Ron is light and rich, so Sengoku went to make arrangements. Take advantage of this free time. Ron patrolled inside Marine and found that Marine's training enthusiasm was particularly high now. Everyone was closing their eyes in deep thought. The whole body has been devoted to the exercise of Liusui and Shattering Fist. There are also some Marines who use swords and are practicing water breathing. This is a skill from Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. Where Ron has been. Advertisement, all were greeted with warm cheers from Marine. Only a few days have passed. Ron's deeds have already spread in Marine. The Marines who accompanied Ron on the expedition spread all the details of what they saw and heard along the way and what they saw with their own eyes. This also let the people of Marine know for the first time that the hole in the moon was made by their Inspector General. Ron patrolled the Marine for about an hour. At this time Toshigi came to inform. Mr. Inspector General, Marshal Kong is here and is waiting for you in the conference room. Ron nodded. Let's go and meet the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces for a while. This character doesn't appear very often in One Piece, so Ron doesn't know much about it. After a while, Ron came to the conference room. Sure enough, I found Kong sitting there with his arms crossed. It seems very majestic, even the beard is sharp and angular. It's such a pleasure to meet you. I have heard about your deeds for a long time. This is the first time we meet. I don't know what you mean by calling me here all the way. I shouldn't be under your supervision. It was obvious that Wukong was very unhappy when someone called him over. After all, he is also the commander-in-chief of the entire army. Normally, others go to see him. Advertisement, when have you ever been called to drink? He, the commander-in-chief, was actually asked to come all the way here to meet a subordinate. So Goku is very unhappy now. Ron smiled, waved his hand and said, Toshigi, serve tea. Then he sat across from Kong. Whether you are under my supervision or not is just a matter of my words. So there is no need to dwell on this, let's just get straight to the point. Today's military power is too decentralized, and it's time for the troops to be integrated. Now that the Revolutionary Army no longer exists, there is no need for the army to exist. Some military units should be cancelled, and should not occupy public resources. Cause unnecessary waste. Besides, you are getting older and it's time to retire. Come, Toshigi, pour tea for Mr. Kong. After drinking this cup of tea, hand over the military power. Kong's face suddenly turned green. He didn't expect Ron to be so direct and not beat around the bush at all. Huh, so that's what you had in mind. I'm afraid this old man can't make the decision. The best I can do is transfer the command of Marine. As for the rest, I have no plans to retire. Ron's expression suddenly turned cold, every word was spoken. I advise you to think about it again. 206. Sengoku is resigning, regarding the selection of the new marshal. Previous chapter, next chapter advertisement. How was the discussion inside? I became nervous. Garp paced back and forth. I said, you old guy, could you please stop wandering around in front of my eyes? I feel dizzy. Besides, it's not that you are anxious about this matter, I am more anxious than you. Sengoku said angrily. I said, why are you anxious? You should be happy. If the military power is really unified, then you will be more than just martial marine. Garp laughed, patted Sengoku on the shoulder and said, I want to congratulate you in advance. Sengoku shook his head quickly. I told you, don't talk nonsense, I'm going to retire soon. After this matter is arranged, I will apply for retirement. It is time to find a young person to serve as Marine Marshal. You and I, the older generation guys, it is better to retire from the Tang dynasty. 027 line is better, Garp laughed, oh, I didn't expect you to have such a plan. This still surprises me. You old guy is so unexpected. You are such a workaholic, and you have the unexpected idea of taking a back seat. Do you think you can prevent me from being surprised? I didn't want to take a back seat before because Marine needed me at that time, but now that the sea has calmed down, it's really time to take a back seat. Then who are you going to put in your place? Garp suddenly became interested. Sengoku sighed, I want Ron to take over my position, but this guy won't agree, so I have to settle for the next best thing and choose one of these admirals. Advertisement, oh, so who are you going to choose? I'm more optimistic about Aokiji. At the same time. At the marine port, the 5 warships that went out to perform missions returned. It was Zephyr and the Green Bull who were sent out by Ron to solve the punk hazard problem. It was really easy for the two of them to take action to deal with Geisa. The reason why Ron sent 2 DJI level people there was to be on the safe side and prevent Geisa from escaping. This guy will be a big trouble if he escapes, because his research can harm more people. Now, Geisa's group has all been arrested, being escorted off the ship. The next scene made all Marines even more angry after watching it. These are the children who were subjected to giant experiments by Guy. The head and body are extremely asymmetrical, currently stepping off the ship. Kizaru frowned at the scene. These children are so scary. Even I can't bear to do this to children. Akainu snorted coldly, there is no need to capture this guy. If I were to carry out the mission, he would be executed on the spot. Why should such a person be left here? Aokiji sighed. That's why the Inspector General didn't send you on your mission because he was well aware of your bad temper. Then what do you think is the use of catching this kind of person back? Are we going to keep him in prison and raise him for the rest of his life? Advertisement, after all, he did this kind of experiment. Maybe he is the only one who can bring these children back to normal. That's why they have to be captured alive. Teng Hu walked over on crutches. Although he couldn't see, he could still feeling abnormal in these children. HMPH. It's really troublesome. Don't we have scientists in Marine? What does that guy from Garpunk do for a living? Akainu snorted coldly. There are nearly 100 children at the moment, and they all have different levels of growth. But it was obvious that this kind of forced enlargement experiment put a huge burden on their young bodies. Zephyr had confirmed the identity information of these children while they were being transported, and then immediately contacted their families. It's actually very easy to do, because most people have already reported the crime when their children are lost. But Marine didn't take it to heart at that time. There is no concrete clue, thanks to Ron for giving Zephyr special instructions before he left. While asking Zephyr to rescue these children, he asked Green Bull to collect reports of missing children nearby. Only in this way can the children's information be confirmed so quickly and their families contacted. They also contacted the local Marines stationed in advance and immediately called all the parents of these missing children to the Marine headquarters. Let them wait here so that they can recognize their children in time. Such a good arrangement for Ron. Zephyr feels a little incredible now. This guy thinks about the problem too comprehensively at such a young age. Marine, who has been working for half his life, thinks more comprehensively than him. When these children got off the warship, the parents at the port had been waiting for a long time. They all couldn't wait to look for their children in the crowd. When they saw how big their children were, their hearts were as sharp as a knife. These guys are obviously less than 5 years old, but it is several times higher than normal people. Advertisement. If you think about this method of encouraging young people to grow, you will know how much suffering these children have suffered. Suddenly the whole square burst into wailing. Fujitora sighed. I can feel their anger, and I don't know if there is any way to save these children. I feel that their breath is extremely weak. I am afraid that this jaundization experiment has failed, and they should all be failures. Now in the conference room. Ron knocked on the table and asked Kong to think about what he just said. Just at this time, Tashigi walked in. Supervisor General, those children have been brought back, would you like to take a look? Zephyr moves pretty fast. Ron nodded, of course I have to take a look. Think about it carefully and give me an answer when I come back. Ron knocked on the table again and said to Kong, who was sitting there with his arms crossed. HMPH 5.1. Kong snorted coldly. Ron soon arrived at the harbor square. At this time, there was a circle of Marines surrounding the square. These children and their parents were also here, and Geisa was also tied up. Kong was more curious about what Ron was going to do. He happened to be able to see this direction from the conference room he was in. So Kong stood in front of the window with his arms crossed, looking at the square where Ron was. Seeing these enlarged children for the first time, Kong felt a little uncomfortable. Especially when I see the parents of those children crying. However, he also knew that there was no way to change this. These children were probably hopeless and might not live long. What on earth does this man want to do? What's the use of him going? Can he solve this problem? 207. Ron is a man of few ruthless words, so he was executed in public. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Inspector General, you are here. Marine, who was originally surrounded by water, immediately made way for a passage. Behind Ron was CP9, who was wearing a black suit and was slowly walking over. Is everyone here? Are there any missing children? Ron said as he walked away. Of course Zephyr knew that Ron was the one asking. After all, this task is his next, so he stood up immediately and said, I searched through the entire punk hazard and brought all the children here. Please rest assured, Inspector General. Ron nodded. Very good, the king is doing well. Are all the perpetrators here? Is there anyone missing? Ron said expressionlessly. It's Green Bull's job to capture these people, and Zephyr's job is to save the children. This was their division of labor when they were in Punk Hisari. So this question should be answered by Green Bull. At this moment the Green Ox also stood up and stood next to FA. That's right, except for those who were arrested and killed on the spot for disobeying orders, all the initiators of the Punk Hazard incident who are still alive are here, a total of 1,280 of them. Ron nodded, said with great satisfaction. Very good. As your first mission in Marine, you did a good job. Make persistent efforts. Yes, Green Bull laughed. Ron has arrived in the middle of the square. Standing opposite all the children, Ron couldn't help but frown as he looked at these children whose body proportions were extremely out of proportion. The parents of these children are still here holding their children and crying. Ron could feel their sadness too. Advertisement, where is the main culprit? Ron said calmly. Come here, bring the main criminal up. Zephyr gritted his teeth and waved his hand, ordering. In fact, he is the person who best understands the feelings of these parents. After all, Zephyr is one of the few Marine senior executives here who has a wife and daughter. When his wife and daughter were killed, he felt extremely sad and angry. Just like the parents of these children now. I wish I could eat the murderer's flesh and his bones. Guy was escorted up by 2 Marine soldiers. Inspector General, he is the main culprit in this incident, Gaisa. Zephyr said harshly. Gaisa didn't realize the seriousness of the matter at the moment. Still looking indifferent, he walked over in a swagger. If he was caught by Big Mom or Kaido, he would be very scared. After all, he had defrauded Big Mom and Kaido of their experimental fees, and he would definitely not spare himself if he was caught by the 2 of them. But at this moment, he was caught by Marine. In fact, Gaisa didn't have much fear in his heart. Because he knows that Marine's style of doing things is different from that of pirates. If the pirates caught him, his fate would definitely be miserable. But Marine is different. What if Marine catches him? Marine will definitely not use the methods of pirates. At most, he will be locked in an undersea prison. It doesn't matter, it's not like I'm living anywhere. For a veteran like Guy, he really doesn't mind going to the underwater prison. Anyway, his personality can be enjoyed anywhere. When these parents saw Guy acting, their eyes were red with anger. On the way here, they heard Marine talk about the complete cause and effect of the incident. Of course she knew that the man in front of her was the main culprit who caused their child to become like this. Advertisement at this moment, my teeth are itching with hatred. I wish I could go up and bite him to death. Guy walked over unsteadily, turning a blind eye to the murderous looks of these parents. Kneel down. Ron said coldly. Gaisa. You'd better send me to the undersea prison quickly, don't waste time. Snapped. Lu Chi and Khalifa went up and kicked Gaisa's legs into pieces. Lhasa banged and knelt down in front of the children. You? Guy gritted his teeth in pain and looked ferocious. Ron waved. Tashigi immediately handed Xiaoyi Shigur over. Ron held the knife, then slowly walked towards Guy. He said as he walked, cover the children's eyes. Yes. Several giant vice admirals came over to block the child's sight. You. What are you going to do? At this time, Gaisa had already noticed something was wrong. He was already a little panicked, started to struggle. But the 2 Marine soldiers behind him held him down very firmly, and they couldn't break free no matter how hard they struggled. Ron took Tashigi's Xiaoyi Shigur and walked up to Gaisa without saying a word. Just stab it in with one knife. This is an explanation for you. Marine will find a way to save these kids. The white knife goes in and the red knife comes out. Ron shook the bloodline off his knife. He stuck the knife into the ground. Advertisement, he said calmly. But Gaisa had lost all traces of life and fell to the ground with a thud. The whole place was in an uproar. The parents of these children suddenly became angry and cheered. He started punching and kicking Gaisa's body. I felt grateful to Ron with tears and runny noses. And at the same time, these Marine admirals were also confused. Not long ago in 793, they were still discussing why they wanted to capture Gaisa alive. They put forward various hypotheses, but no one was right. It turns out that the reason why Ron caught Guy back was to execute him directly in front of the victim. Have to say, this is really satisfying, although it is very inconsistent with Marine rules. But go ahead and follow the TMD rules, this is the most enjoyable solution. Akainu smiled and said, Zephyr was also very excited, this is the way Marine should behave. If Marine could have treated the murderer in the same way after his children were killed, then he would not have defected to Marine. The way things were done back then was completely different from what it is now. At that time, not only was the murderer not punished, the murderer was actually made a Shichibukai. This is a huge shame for Marine, but now, he kills directly without saying anything. Zephyr admires Ron more and more, and at this moment, Kong, who was behind the conference room window and saw the entire incident. I couldn't help but take a breath. He also didn't expect that the Marine Inspector General would be such a decisive and ruthless person. If I don't hand over my military power, I'm afraid it won't be easy to leave the Marine headquarters today. 208. Ron vs Kong, real men let duels speak for themselves. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement. This move was unexpected by no one. Ron was too decisive, but this decision is indeed very satisfying. Especially looking at Guy's arrogant look, everyone was so angry. Guy spread this guy because Marine can't kill him, that's why he was so unscrupulous. Because he knew that his fate would be to be imprisoned in an undersea prison at most. He is not afraid at all. Anyway, it doesn't make any difference to him where he is imprisoned, as long as he doesn't die. It was impossible to get him to repent. In fact, all Marines present know that there are some pirates who cannot repent. If you lock them in an undersea prison, they will never repent no matter how long they're held. Why should such a person be imprisoned? Let Marine provide them with food and accommodation for free every day. What is this picture about? Might as well just kill them. This also saves Marine money, and it's also very satisfying. For example, now, Ron's behavior was actually very unruly. According to Marine's procedures, Ron was in violation. But the results were very good. You can tell it just by looking at the faces of the victims' families. All the victims were grateful to Ron at this moment. They all knelt down and worshipped Ron. Ron finally stopped him. Zephyr finally understood why Ron's prestige in Marine was so high. Most of the things this guy did were against the rules, but the results were something everyone was happy to see. Advertisement. This can only explain one problem. That's because the previous rules were wrong. A correct rule should not be beneficial to these unrepentant pirates. And at this time, Ron stood up and said, let your children be placed in Marine for now. We at Marine will do everything possible to extend their lifespan. As for changing them back to their original appearance, I don't want to deceive you. This is indeed impossible, so you must have mental preparation. Be honest. These parents cried again when they heard this. From now on, their children will have to live with this strange body. But anyway, if it can extend their lifespan and prevent them from dying early. That is also the blessing among misfortunes. Okay, we believe you. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. These parents expressed their gratitude to Ron repeatedly. Finally there was a brief reunion. The children were taken to a specialized medical room by Marine. Start physically examining them. Call that guy from Vegapunk. Let's see if he can help. Ron ordered. Yes, Stussy immediately complied. Even if the things here are dealt with, the rest depends on the lives of these children. Ron returned to the office, sorry for the waiting. Then we can continue to negotiate our affairs. Advertisement. I believe that after giving you so long to think about it, you should be able to give me an answer now. Ron said still expressionlessly. Kong fell into deep thought. He was actually unwilling to ask him to hand over his military power. But after seeing Ron's actions just now, Kong also understood that if he didn't hand over his military power today, I'm afraid it will be difficult to get out of here. This is indeed a very embarrassing thing. What will happen if I don't hand over my military power? Don't you want to use force? I know your identity. The reason why you are so tough in Marine is because you are Ain's brother. This identity may be very useful to others, and you can use it to scare them, but to me, your identity is nothing special. So you can't use this status to oppress me. Since you are Ain's brother, you should also know who I am. Strictly speaking, we are all the same. Lao Wei is the younger brother of the last 10 Imu. Otherwise, why do you think I would be in this position? So if you want to use your power to suppress me, it will be of no use. Kong said coldly. Ron smiled. Of course I know who you are, otherwise I wouldn't have wasted so much time with you here. But you should understand a truth, it's called tea when you leave. Old IM is already dead, so what use is your brother? After Ron finished speaking, It was obvious that Kong's face looked bad. What do you want? I'm a bit weak in world government. You can't use world government's means to remove me from my position. Am I right? So you want me to take the initiative to hand over military power, is this what you mean? Ron said nothing. If I hand over military power, to whom do you plan to hand over the position of president? Advertisement. Ron shook his head. From now on, there will be no position for the president. I have decided to abolish the army and government forces. Build a unified force. Nonsense, isn't this nonsense? You're crazy, Kong said with a shocked look on his face. This idea is too bold and too unrealistic. How can that be possible? As expected, this Inspector General is newly appointed, but he is still too young. Take the army as an example. If Ron really cancels the army's establishment, then Kong can guarantee that the army will definitely fight back. I'm too lazy to explain to you. I'm very pressed for time now, so let's take a more cheerful approach. Decided by duel. It's all about the results. Ron, you shook your head and said, okay, this method is faster, so what are the rules? There are no rules until one side surrenders or is defeated. Okay, if I win, you give up this stupid idea and let the three armies continue to maintain the status quo. If you win, then I will abdicate on my own initiative. Kong Shensheng said, okay, it's settled, it's a deal. The two men had reached an agreement. I haven't moved my muscles for a long time. I heard that you were very powerful, but I didn't know that your achievements were exaggerated. Let me come and learn from you today. 209. What a Kong, Ron's next plan. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. I don't know what's going on with Kong's talks inside. Based on my understanding of this old guy, he won't let go of military power so easily. Sengoku sighed and then said, of course he understood Ron's ambitions. But we also know the difficulty of this approach. I also know that doing so will offend many people. But it can solve Marine's troubles once and for all. But based on Sengoku's understanding of Kong, this guy's character will definitely not give up easily. So it was really difficult for Ron to convince him. And you can't use force for this kind of thing. If you use means to force him to give up this military power, then it is likely to cause dissatisfaction among his men. After all, Kong has been in business for many years. It still has a certain appeal. It can easily lead to mutiny. So the best way to get Kong's military power is to let him hand it over himself. This can play a role in a peaceful transition. It would not arouse dissatisfaction among his troops. In fact, except for Marine's control on Sengoku's side, the other troops are actually under Kong's direct control, including the army, including some government troops. These are forces that cannot be underestimated, so if this matter cannot be handed over smoothly, advertisement, these two forces can easily produce some bad emotions. This is definitely not what Marine wants to see. Garp couldn't help but said when he saw Sengoku's nervous look. Don't worry, the Inspector General will definitely have a way to get the other party to voluntarily hand over military power. Just at this time, Ron and Kong walked out of the office together. I saw that the two did not fight. Sengoku couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. From this, it seems that this negotiation should go smoothly. After all, judging from the expressions of the two of them, there was no quarrel or anger. So, the negotiation just now was probably not bad, at least it didn't collapse. But at this moment, Ron suddenly said to Sengoku, prepare the largest martial arts arena for me, because now Marine training, BFCF, enthusiasm is high. Therefore, Marine's training figure can be seen in any open space and on any occasion. A place as big as a martial arts arena, these Marine training figures are definitely indispensable. Some of them are training the flowing rock-shattering fist, and some are training the water-breathing sword technique that Ron provided them. Now since I have to duel with Kong, then this place is needed. Sengoku looked confused. What are you two doing? Kong snorted coldly. Of course we have to solve the problem in a man's way. Hearing these words, Sengoku couldn't help but take a breath. I didn't expect that these two people wouldn't start fighting just after what I said. As a result, they were about to fight. Advertisement. This is so embarrassing. After a while, the open space in the martial arts arena has been sorted out. Ron and Kong came to the middle of the field. At this time, the Marine soldiers who came here with frowns surrounded the place. Rows of Marines were already sitting in the audience. When they got the news, they were all so excited that they couldn't control themselves. After all, one is the Supreme Commander of Marine and the other is the new Inspector General. Their fight must have been exciting. Kizaru tilted his mouth, touched his chin, and spoke word by word. I don't know what Kong thinks. He wants to challenge the Inspector General to a duel. Fortunately, these things did not involve me. Ron and Kong stood face to face in the middle of the martial arts arena. At this time, Kong moved his body, then pulled off his cloak and threw it on the ground. I haven't had a good fight for a long time. I hope you won't disappoint me too much. Kong had never seen Ron fight, and all he got were literal descriptions. So I don't have an accurate idea of Ron's specific strength. But the rumors I heard became more and more mysterious. There was even a rumor not long ago that Ron punched the moon through. Kong definitely doesn't believe this. How is this possible for humans to do? Even now the moon in the sky is dark in the middle, hanging in the air like a donut, but even so, advertisement. Kong didn't believe it either, it was penetrated by someone. It must be like this for some special reason. After all, everyone will instinctively choose not to believe in things that are beyond human cognition. Let's start. You strike first. I'm afraid if I strike first, you won't have a chance. Ron said calmly, not taking this battle to heart at all. Ron was already thinking about his next plan in his mind. After integrating all the troops, go and capture the Desolo, then return to Marijoy to get the remaining text of the road sign. Find Raftel first, destroy One Piece, and completely end the Age of Discovery. Next, all efforts were made to guard against the lunar counterattack. He didn't take the fight with Kong to heart at all. When Kong heard Ron say this, he smiled instead of getting angry and said, I didn't expect young people nowadays to speak without any scruples. You really come right out of your mouth. Okay, in that case, I won't shirk it from you. It's just that after you lose, don't say you gave in to me. Don't worry, take action quickly, make a quick decision, don't waste time. Ron shook his head and said. Kong took off his shirt, revealing his muscular muscles. The edges of the muscles are like blades. It makes people shudder to see it. I really can't believe that this is the figure that an old man has. This old guy looks very strong, at this time Sengoku said. Do you know why he's called Kong? He is the most powerful person in my life. He is also the person with the strongest physical defense. Only this time his opponent is Ron. 210. Kong admits defeat, Ron attends World Summit. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. The reason why so many people gathered to watch this battle. In fact, they are not concerned about the outcome of the battle between the two sides. Because for most Marines, they already knew this result. Marines' confidence in Ron's strength has really reached an extremely exaggerated level. Don't say it's Kong who's coming, even if Roger and Rox are resurrected, the two of them join forces to add 4 more tombs. Also fight Ron. Then all the Marines present will unswervingly believe that Ron will win. So, the reason why they came here was not because they cared about the outcome of this battle. It should be an entertainment project, mainly I want to see how Kong identifies. Just now, when these Marines heard that Kong was challenging Ron, I almost died laughing. What a courageous person this is, who dares to challenge the Inspector General. Since the Inspector General came to Marine a few months ago, anyone who challenges the Inspector General will not end well. Kong also noticed something was wrong with the surrounding atmosphere. Normally, whenever there is such a competition between high-level generals in the army, you can feel the blood boiling in the audience. But this time, Kong doesn't feel that way at all. He could even feel the people in the audience around him, as if he was preparing to laugh at himself. What is happening? This is the first time I've seen this happen. But now is not the time to think about this. Kong is ready to attack. A hissing sound. Stomping on the ground hard. The huge force caused the ground of the entire martial arts arena to instantly collapse, making a roaring sound, using huge reaction force. Advertisement. Kong's entire body disappeared directly on the spot. Shave. Extremely fast. Far superior to the ones used by other Marine generals. Have to say, the effectiveness of Marine 6 styles depends entirely on the physical fitness of the user. This is a skill that the stronger the body, the stronger the effect when used. Just through the shave that Goku just showed, Ron can tell. In terms of physical fitness, no one in the entire Marine Corps is better than Kong. No wonder this guy has this title. It seems that the reputation is not in vain. He has forged his body into a weapon. This old guy's strength still hasn't declined. Sengoku and Garp looked at each other and then said, it's a pity that even so, he doesn't have any hope of winning, there's no way around it. Sengoku shook his head. Of course he already knew the outcome of this battle. He understands Ron's strength, and he also understands Kong's strength. So once these two guys fight, he can tell who wins and who loses without looking. After all, he had watched Ron fight several times and knew Ron very well. Not to mention the current Kong, even Kong in his heyday couldn't be Ron's opponent. It wouldn't even hurt Ron. Judging from this, Sengoku is still very confident. As expected. Just at this time, Kong has arrived at Ron's side. Utilize the kinetic energy brought by shaving, he punched Ron directly in the chest. Boxing cannon. Kong shouted. He saw that Ron had no intention of hiding. Advertisement. Therefore, there is no need to consider any backups for this move. Just attack with all your strength and use your maximum strength. Kong didn't even think about holding back, since Ron asked for it. Then let him have a long memory. At this moment he was attacking with all his strength. Boom! The punch hit Ron directly in the chest. The shock wave formed by the huge force even blew people in the first few rows of the stands away. The ground where the two of them were was instantly cracked. A huge ravine formed. The ground simply could not withstand the impact of the two of them. What? How can it be? Kong was confused. He originally thought that this punch would cause a lot of damage to Ron. Even if it didn't cause any damage, it would knock him away. But, he found, this guy Ron didn't move at all. How can this be? Just now, I used my whole life's strength. How could it have no effect at all, this time? Kong's worldview has been severely impacted. At the same time, I also remembered those reports about Ron. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Could it be that those are all true? Could it be that they are not processed in any way? See, Kong gasped. He is no fool. On the contrary, people who can achieve the position of commander-in-chief of the entire army are much smarter than ordinary people. The reason why he didn't believe that Ron was as powerful as reported. That's because he has never seen it with his own eyes or fought against it with his own eyes. Therefore, I am suspicious of those exaggerated reports and those breathtaking descriptions. Advertisement. But now, after he experienced this scene personally, all doubts were gone. All distrust collapsed. At this moment he finally understood. Why do all the spectators around look unworried? It was as if he already knew the outcome of a battle. Okay, the old lady lost, Kong said directly. He had just used all his strength to attack. Don't look at the attack just now, which seems to be uneventful and ordinary. But it was enough for Kong to test out Ron's strength. Now that we already know the opponent's strength, then there is no need to continue fighting. You have thought about it. Ron patted the dust on his chest and said lightly. I have thought about it. I have indeed lost this battle. There is no need to continue fighting. If this is the case, then I am willing to admit defeat and I will hand over the military power to you. Kong sighed. Said somewhat sadly. The surrounding Marines didn't expect it to end so quickly. They just sat down. The butt was still hot, so the other party gave up. This is faster than they imagined. They thought there would be a big battle and then Kong would admit defeat. But, the two sides had just fought for one round, and Kong had already admitted defeat. This is too boring. That night's newspaper, the front page headline was that Kong resigned as commander-in-chief of the army. It instantly caused an uproar. Kong was very cooperative with the next process. After handling the handover of Kong's military power, the CPO came to Marine headquarters. On Im's order, they came to pick up Ron to attend the World Summit tomorrow. 211. In Marijoy, just mention Ron. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Same day. Ron followed CP0 to Marijoy. Haven't been back for a long time. Ron didn't bring many people this time. After all, it's just a World Summit, because World Summit is held on the second day. So Ron went directly back to Marijoy's home. I am naturally very happy to see Ron. You guy, you've caused quite a stir during this period. You killed all the 4 emperors. Ron smiled, then stretched. So, why did you call me here? I have never been asked to participate in the World Summit before. Ron said very casually. Facing IM, he is not as cautious as others. The way Ron and IM get along is like, May 13th. If outsiders see it, you will definitely be shocked. They really couldn't imagine that IM didn't have such a homely and warm side. You have made such a big noise recently and have already become the center of the world. Many kings want to meet you. IM sat next to Ron and said. Oh, just because of this? Why don't you call me all the way here? I still have a lot of things to do. You're wasting my time. Ron seems to have little interest in participating in this World Summit. It's just one day. Advertisement. Just think of it as coming back to accompany your sister. IM smiled and said, this is your real purpose, right? Ron shook his head helplessly. Participating in the World Summit is just an excuse. It seems that his sister misses him again. Early morning on the second day. All the kings have arrived in Marijoy under the escort of Marine and World Government troops. The luxurious streets of Marijoy will still be shocking no matter how many times you come here. This is the first time King Neptune of the Fishmen Island has come to participate in the World Summit. With his 3 sons and Princess Shirahoshi, because Ron helped them solve the problem. So you ordinary king still wants to meet Ron. Princess Weiwei's family also had the same idea as him. At that time, the Alabasta incident was resolved so satisfactorily thanks to Ron's help. So, the very important reason why Princess Weiwei and her group came here is also to meet Ron. It's not just them. The same is true for Wong from Dressrosa. The Liku royal family also wanted to come over and thank Ron in person. At that time, their country was liberated thanks to Ron. There are more than 200 countries participating in the World Summit this time. People in many of these countries have never met Ron, but their countries have benefited from Ron's marine experience. So they also want to meet this mysterious Ron, and some countries are like Alabasta, the Fishman Island, Dressrosa. They benefited directly from Ron, and it was all the troubles Ron went to solve for them personally. Advertisement. This is why I am said that many kings want to meet Ron in person. Because the kings of most countries rarely have the opportunity to come out. This World Summit is a rare opportunity to get together. Normally it would be basically impossible to meet Ron. So they wanted to take this opportunity to meet him. Now, World Summit was officially held. More than 200 kings sat together. This is a member country owned by world government. 5 elders sit at the top, responsible for chairing meetings. For a meeting of this level, Song only needs them to take action. No need for IM at all. When will Master Ron come? Yes, the main purpose of our visit this time is to meet Mr. Ron. We also want to express our gratitude in person. This is the first time 5 elders has encountered this situation. It's really a bit embarrassing. Everyone, please be patient. Sir Ron hasn't come yet. Let's have a normal meeting first, finish the main things first, and then invite Mr. Ron over. 5 elders said speechlessly. Because they are looking for Lord Ron, the 5 elders must take this matter very seriously. If these guys had made another request, the 5 elders would have been impatient by now and wouldn't pay attention to them at all. Throughout Marijoy, the word Ron means gold medal. No matter what you want to do, no matter what your requirements are, as long as you add the word Ron after the sentence you say, no matter how you add it, then all the staff at Marijoy will not dare to make fun of you. Take your questions seriously. Advertisement. Even the 5 elders are like this. What can you do? The combined efficiency of your world government is not as high as that of Mr. Ron. That is, if there is a problem in the future, it is probably useless to go to your world government. It is better to go to Marine directly. At least Marine can solve the problem. So don't waste time. This meeting won't produce any results. Let's call Sir Ron to come. The 5 elders really couldn't resist, and they couldn't ignore their request. But they didn't dare rush Ron. What time Ron comes to the meeting depends entirely on Ron's mood. The 5 of them haven't had enough time yet, so they don't dare to rush it. Just when 5 elders are in trouble, Ron suddenly pushed open the door and entered. Upon seeing this, the 5 elders quickly stood up and made room for Ron. Ron slowly walked to the top, just sat down. Suddenly there was fierce applause from below. 4.7 was a surprise to Ron. These guys are too enthusiastic. Where did the meeting go? Ron held back his applause. Then I asked the 5 elders who could only stand behind. Well, it hasn't started yet. Because they have been clamoring to see Sir Ron, there is no way to have a normal meeting. That's what I told you. You haven't decided yet? Ron looked a little unhappy. The efficiency of these 5 guys was getting lower and lower. Sir Ron, this 5 elders is a little ashamed. Useless. Ron said directly to the kings below. Next, I will announce something, which is also the main content of this meeting. 212. Ron. Fujitora, let's go, let's take you to the Grand Desolo. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. As soon as I heard that Ron had something important to announce, all the kings below immediately fell silent. Everyone listened carefully. The 5 elders looked confused at this scene. These kings must be giving Mr. Ron too much face. Unexpectedly, Master Ron's prestige is so high. When I thought of the king's chaotic state during their previous meeting, 5 elders felt a little speechless. Originally, they thought that the king was this kind of arrogant person. After all, he was the leader of a country. Who hasn't tempered their temper yet? So for them to be too good at this restless state. The 5 elders didn't pay too much attention, but now I know. It's not that these kings are too arrogant at all, it's just that they don't give themselves face. That's why I make a mess during meetings. And now Ron comes to the meeting, and these kings all give him face. The scene was surprisingly quiet. I'm afraid you can't hear a pin drop at this moment. Wu Lao 15 star instantly felt that he had been hit. No matter how you say it, the 5 of them are the nominal leaders of this world, and many big and small matters are decided by them. And they have always been the 5 elders who are aloof and prestigious. But I didn't expect that, in the hearts of these kings, they are far less prestigious than Ron. You know, Ron has only been in office for less than half a year. It is really unimaginable that it already has such prestige. Wu Laoxing has held this position for more than 50 years. Advertisement. He couldn't even achieve what Ron achieved in half a year. It's really embarrassing and embarrassing. At this time, the 5 old guys looked at each other. He couldn't help but smile and shake his head. It's so irritating that people are so different from each other. Ron saw that everyone was quiet, so he said yes. This is what I am here to announce. It is very simple, but it also requires your cooperation. Without your cooperation, it would not be very easy to do this. Hear Ron say that. The kings below nodded repeatedly and then did it. Mr. Inspector General, please feel free to say that as long as we can help, we will fully cooperate and we will never dare to say anything. Just give me the order, Lord Inspector. Yes, we will definitely support it fully. The more than 200 people listed below all expressed their opinions unanimously. This neat scene, this harmonious picture. Another blow to 5 elders' self-esteem. The 5 of them stood behind, their faces darkened. Suddenly I felt a little redundant and a little embarrassed. Where have they seen these levels during meetings? When have these kings ever cooperated like this? This is unheard of and unseen. These guys are notorious for how difficult they are to deal with. In the past, the world government wanted to do something or implement some policies, but the following was a quarrel. No one cooperated at all. There was a lot of chaos. Basically, you can't get a satisfactory answer on anything you want everyone to discuss. It was as if the king below felt deceived when he made any demands or proposed any policies, and began to object one after another. Advertisement, but now this scene is simply incomprehensible. Why is there no objection from anyone below? Why hasn't Ron said what his policy is yet? There is already a voice of support below. This is simply off the mark. Okay. The gap between people can't be so big, right? This made the 5 old men instantly doubt their life. Could it be that the work of world government can be done so easily? It turns out that world government can also be supported by so many kings at the same time. Is it possible? If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't even believe it. But now that I have seen it with my own eyes, I can't believe it even if I don't believe it. That's outrageous. They originally thought that Ron was just a second-generation official who traveled around relying on his sister's relationship. But who would have thought? In less than half a year, the whole world has changed. No wonder Ron always scolds the 5 of them for not being able to get things done. The 5 of them were still a little unconvinced before. He kept arguing that it was the people below who didn't cooperate and that it was the kings who always stirred up trouble. But now I was slapped in the face naked. This king doesn't stir up trouble at all. These guys are picking on people but not troubles. Their king simply couldn't stand the 5 elders. Ron stretched out his hands to suppress the sound below. When it became quiet again, Ron spoke. Very good. It's great to have your attitude. Advertisement. You should know that I disbanded all military organizations except Marine yesterday and merged them all together. The main purpose of doing this is to maintain the stability of the world. Unifying and standardizing everything will make management more efficient and will not cause a waste of personnel and money. So now I'm going to set up Marine offices on various islands. While providing security, it can also solve troubles. Of course, this is not forced. If you are willing, then we, Marine, will establish an office in your country. Of course, if you are not willing, we, Marine, will not establish an office in your country, so you can make your own choice. Just fine. Ron just finished saying 030. Other countries immediately said impatiently. We agree. We will fully cooperate with these, don't worry. Yes, with the inspector here, we have complete trust in Marine. We are willing to hand over all defense work to Marine. This will not only make our country safer, but also reduce unnecessary military expenditures in our country. This weird request, 5 elders thought that we would not agree to these pots. But I never expected it. It went so smoothly. No one opposed it, and they all supported it. Is this appeal too strong? The 5 elders have no doubt that if the 5 of them had announced this matter just now, most of the people would have objected. Very good, then I've finished my business. As for the rest of your meeting, let these 5 old men continue with you. After Ron finished speaking, he left here directly. Ron brought Fujitora, an admiral, to Marijoy. I admire the Inspector General for getting it done so quickly, Fujitora said while standing at the door. Ron smiled, and then suddenly thought of something. Said to Fujitora, Fujitora, let's go. This Inspector General will take you to the Desolo. Fujitora. 213. Fujitora. Fishing law enforcement. How can I be fooled? Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Ron's sudden words made Fujitora confused. Now he looked at Ron with a confused look on his face. Oh no, he can't see since he has no eyes, but he still acted like he was looking at Ron. Then his face was very surprised. This made Fujitora, who had seen the world, not know what to say for a moment. After a while, he finally said this. I never gamble. He thought Ron was fishing for law enforcement. After all, everything Ron has done since he took over Marine is to make all Marine officers better. Any bad habits that were detrimental to Marine's work were eliminated, including Kizaru's fishing, Aokiji's laziness, Garp's release. Wait until everything has been changed. So according to this style, Fujitora thought carefully about how to answer Ron's words. Why is this guy asking this at this time? Could it be that he was testing me? That's probably what it means. If it's not to test me, I really can't think of any other meaning. I didn't expect this little doll to be quite scheming. He actually wanted to use this method to trick me into talking to him. I have lived a long time, can you let me tell you this? So Fujitora said smartly that he never gambled. Advertisement. After all, he has been in Marine for a relatively short time, and no one knows him well. As long as he says he doesn't gamble, he means he doesn't gamble. Anyway, no one has proven that he likes gambling. So, no one can expose him yet. It is with this idea in mind. That's why Fujitora answered truthfully. When Ron heard this sentence, he became even more violent. Damn it, this old wall lamp is so shameless. It's just talking nonsense with your eyes open. Wrong. This guy has no eyes at all. No wonder you can tell lies casually. So shameless. Ron actually laughed in anger. Hey, I told you to stop pretending, okay? Who will believe you when you say you don't gamble? How can you not gamble? I'm not here to hold you accountable now. I really want to take you with me now, go gamble. Ron shook his head speechlessly, and then said, Can Fujitora believe it? Only if you can believe it is there a ghost. As a person who gambles all year round, psychological quality is the most important. The most important thing about gambling is the psychological game. As long as you can beat the opponent in the psychological game, you will basically win half the battle. So, as an old gambler, Fujitora's psychological quality is very high, and his mentality is also very good. How could I be deceived? How could I be tricked by Ron? It's obvious that this guy Ron said that on purpose. His real purpose must be to deceive himself. Advertisement. Let yourself be exposed. I have been gambling all my life, can I still be manipulated by a little kid like you? How can this be? Fujitora couldn't help but smile slyly. Then he said, Inspector General, don't be ridiculous. I really never gamble. I don't understand what you are talking about. Even if you want to take me to gamble, I don't know anything. The casino is so noisy that I can't stand it, Fujitora said it seriously. If people who don't know look at it, they might think that this guy really doesn't have much. I have to say that this old guy's acting skills are really online. Ron believed it for a moment. Fart. Ron couldn't help but laugh angrily. I asked you, do you think that I am fishing for law enforcement and that I am deliberately testing you? I'm talking to you now. I really want to take you to gamble. You know a lot about gambling, so you can get twice the result with half the effort on this mission. Do you understand what I mean? You can't do it. You can't do it. I don't know how to gamble. If you take me there, I can't do anything. You might as well find someone else. I have never been to a place like that, and I don't know anything about it. Fujitora waved his hands and said, ITM. Ron gritted his teeth in anger. This old guy can really pretend. When things got really bad, he was still pretending to be here. The whole one was speechless. Advertisement. Ron kicked Fujitora directly. He really couldn't bear it anymore. This guy is so annoying. Fujitora was caught off guard and was kicked to pieces. He patted the dust on his body, then stood up and said, It's a pity, I can't help you much, alas. This guy is still pretending. Fujitora is now determined to pretend and never gambles. After all, he now thinks that Ron is fishing for law enforcement and that Ron is deliberately trying to trick him. If it is exposed at this time, that would be really embarrassing. You have to pretend it, anyway. Ron has no evidence to prove that he gambled. As long as you pretend well, you can get through it. Since Fujitora came to Marine, he has heard Kizaru Aokiji, Garp and others say how harsh Ron is, and how ruthless Ron is. As long as Ron caught him making a mistake, a beating and kicking, from Qian, was inevitable, and it was considered light. So, Fujitora cannot admit it to his death. Ron covered his forehead speechlessly. I told you, you old guy, stop pretending. I know about your gambling, but this was before you became a Marine, so I don't care. I will take you to the Grand Desolo now. Catch all the people above in one fell swoop. This gambling ship floating on the sea is always an unstable factor. It will destroy people's families. Once people's families are destroyed, they will turn into bandits. So you understand what I mean, this place will definitely breed evil. Ron said very seriously. Only then did Fujitora realize that he had understood it wrong, it turned out. Then he touched his head and laughed. Ah, that's it, ha ha ha, I got it wrong, then let's set off now. 214. Log into the Grand Desolo, have a private visit incognito, and bump into Momosagi. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. The reason why Ron wanted to go to the Grand Desolo was. There are actually two reasons. One reason is what I just said. The existence of a casino like the Grand Desolo will seriously undermine the peace of the entire sea. After all, as long as there is gambling, families will be destroyed. So it will breed sin. This is inevitable. This is true everywhere and on any occasion. In order to reduce the evil caused by gambling, a very simple way is to directly cut off the root cause. So, in order to maintain peace in the pirate world. Also in order not to let this place become synonymous with all kinds of darkness and underground. Therefore, the Desolo must be eliminated. The other reason is simpler. Because the big Desolo is rich. This is a veritable gold-selling cave in the pirate world. It is said to include nearly 1/3 of the world's liquid assets. This is quite a terrifying figure. Ron certainly doesn't allow this kind of money to stay outside, it must be in Marine's hands. Moreover, the Grand Desolo can actually be operated by 090 Marine. Just need to improve the business model, transform it from a blocked city into an entertainment city. Advertisement in this way, not only can a channel for making money be preserved, but it can also be formalized. When Tang Hu learned all this, he nodded in agreement. Although he likes gambling, but he is not the kind of heinous gambler. Fujitora just likes this unknown excitement, not to win money. After all, he is not short of money either, ever since Ron took CP9 and Admiral Tengu. Departure from Marijoy, heading towards the Grand Desolo. At this time Tang Hu suddenly raised a question. Inspector General, I have some knowledge about the Grand Desolo. It is a casino on a ship, which means it has no fixed location. We have no way to find out his whereabouts. The operator of this blocked city is very treacherous and cunning. He only issues life cards to specific VIPs. With this life card, he can grasp the location of the Grand Desolo in real time. We don't have this life card now, so there is no way to find their location. We can only sail aimlessly now. If we rely on luck to encounter them by chance, it is really impossible. Hearing this, Stussy smiled. Fujitora Admiral, you don't have to worry about this. There is no place in this world that our Lord Ling and can't find. How can you say this? I really don't understand. Fujitora said with a confused look, and at this time, Ron took out the feng shui compass. Then I began to think about the Grand Desolo in my mind. The next moment, the feng shui compass began to rotate violently, and then stopped in one direction. And the number 60 is displayed below. Proceed 60 nautical miles in this direction to reach the Grand Desolo. Ron said calmly. Oh, there are such magical things, but it's a pity that I can't see them, otherwise I would definitely have a good look at them. At this moment, at Marine Headquarters, advertisement. Sengoku paced back and forth in the office. Why hasn't the Inspector General come back yet? It's been 2 days and the World Summit is almost over. What is he doing? Could he be doing something else while we're not paying attention? Garp smiled and then said, we don't have to worry about this kind of thing. I asked you, old guy, could you please be quiet and stop wandering around? If that doesn't work, just contact Tang Hu and ask him, didn't they go together with Mary? BFCH, Hoya? Logically speaking, they should be together. After a while, Sengoku dialed Tengu's phone number. Hey, I'm Sengoku, are you with the Inspector General? Yes, I am with the Inspector General. Where are you? On the way to the Grand Desolo. Fujitora answers all your questions. What? Sengoku was stunned. The Inspector General was really not idle for a moment. He just finished the World Summit and went to deal with the matter of the Grand Desolo. Didn't you agree that after the World Summit, you would come back to make arrangements for the construction of a marine office? Did this guy forget about this? Let me wait here for you all day and night in vain. As a result, after you finished the World Summit, you went to do other things? Sengoku was speechless for a while, after a day and night of sailing. Following the direction pointed by the feng shui real estate, we finally discovered the Grand Desolo. I have to say that this ship is really huge, even bigger than Pluton. The huge boat was towed by 2 giant turtles, advertisement. To give him motivation. After all, it would be inconvenient for such a big ship to rely on sails to provide power. Ron and Fujitora all changed into casual clothes. Then he changed into a pirate ship that he had just snatched and boarded the Grand Desolo. At this time, the person responsible for the reception was a very beautiful beauty. The arrival of the two did not arouse the suspicion of others. After all, those who can find the Grand Desolo are usually VIPs. And there are all kinds of people here. There are even some marine personnel who often come here for gambling and various entertainment activities. In fact, this is not considered a violation of law and discipline. So, Marine has no way to take direct control, because these are all legal operations. There is no saying in the pirate world that this situation is not allowed. So, Marine generally has nothing to do with the Desolo. Another purpose of Ron coming here is actually to see if there are any other Marine senior executives playing here. It can be regarded as a private visit incognito. When Ron watched the movie version before, he discovered that Momosagi and the T-Dolphin were here. Ron has banned gambling, so if they are really found here, they will definitely be taught a lesson. Under the reception of the beautiful receptionist, Ron roughly explored the area and became clear about the specific structure of the Grand Desolo. At this time, in a secret gambling room, sure enough, I saw Momosagi and the T-Dolphin. 215. Help Momosagi get over his gambling addiction, punishment for Momosagi. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. At this moment, the two guys, Momosagi and Chado, were having fun inside. Bet on dice and guess the size. These two guys are betting passionately here. If Ron hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that Momosagi was actually a big gambler. Judging by his appearance, he must be a veteran. It's true that people cannot be judged by their appearance. Ron and Fujitora walked behind them. At this time, some stewards suddenly came over and asked, Both guests, do you need to exchange some chips? I can provide some chips for exchange here. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. The rules here are actually very simple. Just buy and leave. There are no other rules. Do you want to give it a try? If you want to try it once, then the next game will start soon. We can place bets now. 11. How about it? Are you two interested? The manager began to persuade. They usually try their best to get people into the car. Human beings are all the same. Once they start blocking, they can't stop. So, their job is to get people to participate for the first time. Anyone who comes to the Grand Desolo will basically lose everything. Some people have lost all their money and can only sell themselves here. Be a coolie. That's one of the darkness of this place. Ron smiled and said, then give me another one. Sir, we don't support changing here. If we want to change here, it must start with 100 million belly. As soon as I heard that Ron just needed to change a chip, the staff member's expression immediately dropped. Advertisement, I asked you to change it, so you change it for me, do you hear me? Ron's expression suddenly hardened. Even the 4 emperors were frightened by this momentum, let alone this small management staff. At this moment he nodded immediately. It didn't take long before Ron actually got a bargaining chip. At this time Momoshagi was shouting, Yin Ching Ching. She hadn't noticed yet that Ron was sitting next to her. JN. Ron said calmly, and then moved a chip to a small position. And this time, Momoshagi suddenly felt a chill running down his spine. Only then did I realize, it seems that the person next to me is very familiar. Momoshagi turned around suddenly, when I saw Ron's face. Momoshagi was stunned for a moment. Master Inspector General, why are you here? Got caught in action. Momoshagi was confused now and started to get nervous. Asked cautiously, oh, then why are you here? Ron asked directly. Well, actually I don't come here often. This time I just came here to find out what's going on. I suspect there are some shady and dark transactions here, so I came here pretending to be a gambler. Ron laughed in anger. I have to say that the acting skills of the gamblers are very good. One counts as one. Did Fujitora refuse to admit that he gambled? Advertisement. Now Momoshagi licked his face and said that he came to feel the bottom. It's a pity that these guys are not actors. They are really better at acting than the other. Oh, come and see. Ron didn't expose Momoshagi. I want to see how she continues to act. Momoshagi didn't expect that Luo would continue to ask, so he said awkwardly. Well, there's nothing discovered yet, so it's time to find something soon. Okay, don't act for me. What are you doing here? I know, and you should also know, that first explicitly prohibit Marine from gambling. Now that you've been caught, don't say any more useless words. If you love gambling so much, why not bet on your own destiny? The dice that were about to be drawn just now, you chose the big one and I chose the small one. If you win, I will treat this matter as if it never happened. If I win, I will handle this matter fairly. Ron's voice suddenly became stern. Momoshagi felt cold sweat break out on his back. Then he waved his hands and shook his head. No, Mr. Inspector General, there is no need to block it. I admit my mistake and let this matter be handled impartially. I am willing to accept any punishment. Momoshagi immediately reined himself in. She didn't dare to really gamble with Ron. Even though Ron said so, it didn't mean that she could actually do it. Please give me flowers, that is really asking for death. Oh, it seems like you are quite self-aware. Now I'll give you a chance to atone for your sins and capture the Grand Desolo within half an hour. Ron said calmly. Momoshagi looked confused. Didn't you understand what I said? Ron's tone was a bit stern. Advertisement, you have 29 minutes. Momoshagi heard this and did not dare to be careless. He never imagined that the purpose of Ron's coming here was to capture the Great Desolo. He immediately rushed out of the door without hesitation. Since we want to capture the Grand Desolo, the first step is to find the owner of this ship. As long as you get rid of it, everything will grow smoothly. Time is of the essence. I want to find him and kill him in less than 30 minutes. Time is really too urgent. I didn't expect that I would be so unlucky today. I came here secretly to have some fun, and I was actually caught. Momoshagi doesn't dare to be careless. After all, she saw with her own eyes how Ron dealt with Garp and Kizaru. Then, an extremely weird scene happened on the entire Grand Desolo. Momoshagi seemed to have suddenly gone crazy. Anyone who saw the staff on the Grand Desolo was beaten and kicked, and asked where the captain was. Ron was sitting in his original position, drinking tea and waiting. Fujitora said, Inspector General, do you need me to help her? I'm afraid it's a little difficult to rely on her strength alone. Ron shook his head. Only by letting her experience the darkness of the casino with her own eyes can she truly quit. Through this search, she will definitely see a lot of things that she couldn't see before. Fujitora couldn't help but nodded, I see, and right now. The Golden Emperor suddenly received a report from his subordinates. What? You said you saw the bald Inspector General in the basement. How did he get here? Take me to have a look. 216. Give the Golden Emperor 2 choices. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Seeing that time is getting increasingly urgent. Momoshage is getting more and more anxious, because she had no way to find out where the legendary Golden Emperor was. So it looked almost everywhere on the ship. It was precisely because of this that he saw many dark places on the Grand Desolo. This place seems prosperous on the surface, but in fact a lot of dirty things are done secretly. Many people lost all their money and were forced to sell themselves here. Working in the dark underground all day long, there are many people imprisoned in the prison below. Momoshage didn't know about these places before, but they have just discovered them now. Because he couldn't wait to find the Golden Emperor. Therefore, many shady places were discovered through a combination of circumstances. At this moment, he finally knew what kind of disaster gambling would bring to the world of San. How many people have been separated from their wives, lost their freedom, and some even lost their lives because of gambling. So, at this moment Momoshage also knew why Ron didn't let them participate in this entertainment activity. To be honest, he is still a little ashamed now. He also understood Ron's good intentions. So, after repeated inquiries, the location of the Golden Emperor has been determined. Now, Momoshage is filled with endless rage. Start heading towards the highest point of the Grand Desolo. Advertisement: this hateful Golden Emperor must be killed. But at this moment, Momoshage didn't know that the Golden Emperor was no longer there. Now the Golden Emperor is in front of Ron. Because he learned about Ron's arrival, he came down to receive him in person. What is the most sensational thing in the past 6 months? Which character is the most talked about? That was undoubtedly Marine's bald Inspector General. Everything this guy did on the ocean was the most sensational. He has even become a household name. After all, Ron's characteristics are too obvious. The recognition is actually very high. After all, there are not many people with bald heads in the world of pirates. Hey, I didn't know that the Inspector General came to visit us. It's really disappointing to welcome him from afar. Your arrival really makes my place shine. The Golden Emperor is such an exquisite and eight-faceted character. He naturally knows how difficult this guy Ron is to deal with. It is not yet known why it appeared in its territory. But just in case, he had to come and have a look. After all, he doesn't want to be like the other Marine 4 emperors or pirates. Now I've been F***ed so hard that not even the dregs are left. So far, his business is still legal. After all, he is not a pirate, and because he bribed the world government before, his place is specially allowed by the world government. But this still didn't reassure him. After all, Ron is here. What if this guy turns his back on us and refuses to acknowledge the promises made by the world government? So, advertisement: when he learned that the always stern bald Inspector General was here, the Golden Emperor took it very seriously. Ron smiled and shook his head, then said, "Don't be nervous, I'm just here to have fun." Heard that said, the Golden Emperor even felt that something was wrong. Because he had specially studied Ron's character. Everywhere he goes has a purpose, and he has never been more casual than he is now. That is to say, he wasn't telling the truth at all. This not only made the Golden Emperor feel a hint of danger. Because he knows it very well. Now that the bald man has come here, he must have a purpose. It is definitely not just for entertainment, as he said. Because it doesn't fit with his understanding of bald heads. He studied it carefully, from the time Bald arrived at Marine headquarters until now. Everything he has ever done in every place he has been to has never been redundant. All of them were purposeful, and all were done to eliminate specific targets. Just this terrible execution, it really made the Golden Emperor feel scared. What on earth is he doing here, and with what purpose? Are you targeting me? This is troublesome. The Golden Emperor is really having a headache now. If you are really targeted by this guy, it will be really troublesome. Advertisement: so he said straight to the point. If we have anything to say, let's talk it out directly and stop testing each other. To be honest, this is a place recognized by the world government. They have designated a separate area for my ship. This means that I am now an independent country. All my operations here are subject to legal procedures, which means that this is a normal business place, and it is also a place recognized by the world government. The Golden Emperor is still very decisive, and he also knows that there is absolutely no point in talking around in circles with a smart person like Ron, so it is better to tell the whole story directly. Ron was a little surprised. I didn't expect this guy to be quite direct. If that's the case, he won't waste time, so Ron laughed directly. Very good. I also like people who are straightforward about things. Since you want to ask, I might as well tell you. Now I give you 2 choices. The first is to take the initiative to join Marine and hand over your ship and all the money on it to Marine. The second option is to take it all back with our own hands, so it's up to you. Here Ron finished this sentence. 4.9 The Golden Emperor was almost mad to death. You mean you want to steal it openly? I really don't understand the difference between your 2 choices. Aren't you both trying to steal my big Desolo? I didn't expect you Marines to be such shameless people. What's the difference between your behavior and that of a pirate? Marine gave him these two choices, both with the same result. Just to get his big Desolo. That's right, but there are still some differences from the behavior of pirates. Because you have committed many unforgivable crimes here, I am enforcing the law impartially. Are you kidding? This is a place recognized by the world government. Everything is legal? Recognition by the world government. Contact them now and see if they still dare to admit it. 217. Ron opened the text of the 4 historical road signs and looked for Ruftel. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement, so there's nothing to talk about? The Golden Emperor frowned and said, he knew Ron's identity and his status in Marijoy. Just one word from this guy can directly deprive the world government of all its commitments to him. So, Emperor Huang also knew that making this call would be meaningless. He frowned at this moment. I was really unhappy and aroused my anger. Marine guys are bullying people too much. You guys are too much of a bully. We are doing business here properly. Why do you do this, and why do you want to confiscate my Grand Desolo as soon as you come up? Ron shook his head and said softly, someone is coming. Bring up the evidence. Ron clapped his hands. CP9 behind him immediately went to perform the mission. Soon, he brought up all those people who were privately detained in Golden Land. These people are witnesses to all the evil on this ship. Some of them have even been detained here for 15 or nearly 10 years. This time, the Golden Emperor had nothing to say anymore. He immediately pushed back 2 steps, then he said coldly. So what do you want to do? Ron shook his head. I gave you a choice, but you gave up on your own. They're very simple. Marine will take back this place himself. Hear Ron say that. The Golden Emperor couldn't help but frowned. Advertisement, it looks like we're going to take action, right? I've heard for a long time that you are a very powerful guy, rarely seen in the world, and that you can also kill the 4 emperors. Although I didn't see it, I still believe it. But don't forget, this ship is my home. When you first came here, you had already inhaled gold powder in your body. In other words, I can turn your body into gold at any time. You have nothing to do with me. A chance to win. The Golden Emperor's expression suddenly became extremely ferocious. Said coldly. Ron shook his head and sighed, then spoke slowly. You can try. I really can't see the coffin without crying. The Golden Emperor snorted coldly. It was obvious that the man in front of him didn't believe him. If that's the case, let him believe it. The best way to convince him is to demonstrate it to him. This can also act as a deterrent and make the other party afraid. So the Golden Emperor immediately activated his ability. But he was surprised to find out. No one in front of them has change, which means that no one in their body has gold powder. What exactly is going on? It's impossible for them not to breathe. If they had breathed, they would have inhaled the gold powder the moment they entered. But I didn't feel any gold powder existing in their bodies. What exactly is going on? Didn't they come in through the main entrance? With this question, the Golden Emperor asked. How is that possible? Why didn't any of you inhale the gold? This is absolutely impossible. Ron smiled and shook his head. For someone who has watched anime, now that we know the potential dangers on this island. So will Ron be fooled? Advertisement of course, be prepared in advance. So before he landed on the island, he had prepared a large number of protective props. They plugged up their noses and ears, and told everyone not to breathe through their mouths. Prevent gold powder from entering, precisely because of this. That's why the Golden Emperor's plan failed. Damn it, you guys are really despicable. Then in that case, let me be your opponent. Ron shook his head again. Why are you shaking your head again? What I mean is that you are not worthy of being my opponent. Your opponent is someone else. Ron finished speaking and clapped his hands. Momoshage immediately jumped down from the sky. Falling in front of the Golden Emperor. Finally I found you. You guys are so easy to find. Your opponent is me now, Momoshage said coldly. As a preparatory admiral, Momosage's strength is naturally beyond words. After fighting the Golden Emperor for 40 or 50 rounds, victory was finally achieved. After the fight, she took the initiative to come to Ron. Inspector General, I will never gamble again, but I still have to take the punishment this time. Ron waved his hand. Punishment is not the purpose is to make you correct. Since you have corrected yourself, forget about the punishment. Take these people away, take people to account for everyone on the warship, arrest all the pirates, and let the ordinary people go. Yes. Advertisement. Momoshage nodded immediately. Then after finishing the things here, Ron used the Pluton to pull the big Desolo and headed towards the Marine headquarters. I have to say that the Grand Desolo is really big, even bigger than Pluton. Being so big brings a very serious problem. That's because the powertrain is terrible. Basically, this ship can only be regarded as a mobile fortress floating on the sea. Normal movement can only be pulled by the 2,000 giant turtles in front. But the turtle is also very slow. Therefore, the Grand Desolo is really inconvenient to move. If Ron hadn't come in the Pluton this time, replace it with an ordinary warship. There is really no way to pull the Grand Desolo back. So this can be considered a blessing among misfortunes. At least there is a way to get this behemoth back first. It would be best to let Vegapunk build a good drive system for this ship. This will make it easier to move around the sea in the future. After all, this ship is considered Marine's private property from now on. So we still have to make it more convenient and durable. It's a long way from here to Marine headquarters. Ron used the inscription to pull the big Desolo, and it took him a total of 3 days to get back. When returning to Marine headquarters, World Summit has finished. Plans to establish Marine offices in various countries have also been implemented. Sengoku also has certain differences in the number of troops stationed on each island based on the population size of different countries. For such relatively trivial matters, Ron usually leaves it to Sengoku to handle. Bring over the 4 historical texts of road signs. Ron, who had already rested, said suddenly, 218, the last piece of road sign history text. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement, bring over the 4 historical texts of the road signs. Ron, who had already rested, said suddenly. Ron went back to Marine to rest for 2 or 3 days. Start working on the last step of the plan. Sengoku has now made arrangements to build a Marine office. Coupled with Ron's operations at World Summit, already communicated with those kings. As long as we communicate with them in advance, there will be no obstacles. In other words, after all, we're building a Marine office in their country, as long as they can make everything go smoothly. Then this work can be carried out as quickly as possible. Ron once estimated with Sengoku how long it would take to build a Marine office. With the full cooperation of the king and government troops there. Basically, a complete Marine office can be built in 3 days. This efficiency is really terrifying. After several expansions of Marine troops, the scale of the entire Marine fleet is now very large. The main purpose of these expansions is to disperse them all to various offices. Because it is necessary to arrange an office in each country, the office cannot be empty. Otherwise, he will have no value. Any law enforcement agency without armed forces is nothing more than a joke. If you don't have a strong fist, who will listen to your reasoning? So, every office must be heavily guarded. Advertisement. The specific number of guards must be estimated based on the country's population. Generally, a relatively large country like Grace Rosa needs to arrange an army of at least 3,000 people. For some relatively remote small countries, 100 or 200 people are enough. The minimum establishment is 100. If the population on the island is too small, then it will be necessary to take action. Just at this time, Sengoku has ordered people to bring over all the road sign history essays. These stones are different from other stones. There are 4 historical texts in total. Marine has now got 3. One was snatched from Kaido, and the other was snatched from Uranus. Sengoku sighed sadly, and then said, now we only have 3, and there is no way to accurately determine the specific location of Raffle with the 3rd one, so we still need to find the historical text of the 4th road sign, but our current 4th road sign historical text is nowhere to be found. I know, I have never heard any clues about him, so it is really something that makes me a little embarrassed. Ron carefully observed the historical text, and then remembered their appearance and shape in his mind. Then he smiled at Sengoku. Don't forget we also have a feng shui compass. This sentence is like an enlightenment. Sengoku instantly remembered the artifact in Ron's hand. I have to say that thing is so convenient, there is nothing he can't find. So as long as there is a specific image in the sea, then just read the name directly. The reason why Ron observed the history of the other 3 road signs so carefully just now was to remember their appearance. Only by doing this could Song provide precise guidance. Then I slowly recited the name silently in my heart. Advertisement. The compass in his hand suddenly spun and then stopped in a direction in the northwest corner. Then it says 5 kilometers. Such a close distance? Ron, some differences how could be at such a firm distance? Where is this? Sengoku couldn't help but feel a little confused when he saw this position. This is a small desert island nearby, there's nothing in there. Ron shook his head. No, there must be something there. The feng shui compass is absolutely correct. The text of the target history must be there. Then shall we go there now? This place is really close to our Marine headquarters. I'm very confused as to why we haven't found the text of the historical target here for so long. I really can't figure out what's going on, so we took the Marine fleet and set off over there. Have to say, everyone is confused as to why the red target history text appears there. This makes absolutely no sense. Marine is active there almost every day. It can be said that he knows everything there very well, and he has not found anything suspicious recently, nor has he found any target historical text in that place. So what's going on? In fact, the distance of 5 kilometers is neither long nor short. You still have at least 10 minutes to get there at your current speed. Ever since, everyone can be curious, Why is there news about the historical text on a small desert island that is very obvious? This is unlikely. Advertisement because Marine often uses the surrounding islands to conduct some military drills. It is also to prevent harm to local people, so it is just a method adopted. On the island where they log in every day to train. None of them noticed anything unusual here, so that's the weirdest thing. This is why everyone is so eager to know what happened. Sengoku frowned and thought for a moment, then said, "What exactly is going on?" Ron shook his head and said, "I don't know much about this matter, so we'd better go take a look. If we take a look, everything will be clear." So, Jiao, a group of people came to this isolated island. I have to say that this place is really very close to the Marine headquarters, and the island is full of holes made by various artillery shells, which must have been left during normal artillery shooting practice. So Sengoku is right, this place is indeed a small island used by Marine for training. Marine goes back and forth at least a dozen times every day, how could he not find anything suspicious inside? However, when they landed on the island, everyone showed incredible expressions, even Ron showed an incredible expression. Because there is indeed a road sign and historical text here. That's too obvious. Red. Square. At this moment, he is standing in the middle of the island. Sengoku was even more confused. What exactly is going on? 219. Yamato's request to take him to the final island with him. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement. This piece of historical text is placed in the middle of the island. There cannot be anything invisible, so this is not worth arousing everyone's alarm. Who put him up? And it can also be found through the scene that he is just a latecomer. Sengoku was even more confused at this time. Their Marine's defense is naturally an iron wall, and it is impossible for outsiders to get in so easily. So, who sent the historical text? How did he find this last piece of historical text? What is the relationship between this? Just when everyone started guessing each other. Suddenly a figure came out of the forest. This person is so familiar. Didn't expect it to be him. Seeing this man coming out, all Marines quickly entered a defensive state as if they were facing a powerful enemy. I have to say, this is really a puzzling thing, because the person who appeared was Kaido's son, Yamato. Now that Kaido has been brought to justice, the Sea of Beasts group has basically disappeared, but this guy Yamato has never made any mistakes. Advertisement, so it was not difficult for them. However, this is a very troublesome problem. No matter what, as Kaido's daughter, he wouldn't just come to Marine. And he himself has no good influence on Marine. Why would he come to Marine at this time? And such a big gift is given. This is really confusing. What is going on? Everyone is in a state of confusion now and can't figure it out at all. Sengoku, who is known as the resourceful general, can't figure it out anymore. He is really broken now. He even wondered if Yamato had any other purpose. It was really unclear whether he had any other purpose when he brought so many things. Moreover, Marine still doesn't trust his elder brother. After all, this guy is Kaido's daughter. After all, he is also the daughter of the 4 emperors. So, although everyone on the outside, BFDD, believes what he said, they don't quite believe it on the mainland. But at this time, he didn't know where he got the news and got what Marine needed most, because Marine really needed the last piece of the puzzle so far. Without the last piece of the puzzle, Marine has no way to find Raftel, so it will cause Ron's plan to fail. So now that the road sign history is so low, it is what they need most now. At this moment, Ron got up from the bed and walked over to the text of history. Then he looked at Yamato and asked, "Where did you get the historical text from?" Yamato always put me on his shoulders and laughed loudly. "I didn't expect that we would meet so soon. I said before that we would meet soon. Now you believe it." Ron frowned and looked at him, then said one sentence at a time. "It seems that you expected that we would find the historical text." "Of course, so I have prepared this gift for a long time, and I am just waiting to find a suitable time to give it to you." Advertisement, you haven't said how you got the historical text. This is not difficult for me. Don't forget, I have read Master Oden's diary. There are many secrets described below. Among them, the burial place of this historical text is recorded in the diary. So it's not that hard for me to figure it all out. Then why did you give us the text of history? Sengoku suddenly came out and asked a very crucial question. If this problem cannot be solved, then he will not dare to accept this historical text. Who knows whether it is false? Because they Wano-kuni can process sea stone after all. What if they process the exact same historical text without authorization, but the location marked on it is wrong? Wouldn't this lead Marine astray? Then it was never found. Laudale location. After all, this possibility exists, and Sengoku, who is always cautious, will never let this happen. So he had to figure out what was going on. Otherwise, he would not dare to waste time with this historical text. But at this time, Dahihi said very seriously, "My request is very simple. That is to say, you take me to find Raftel. I want to go there myself, but I don't have the other 3 historical texts." Sengoku frowned when he heard this. "But don't you guys have Oden's diary?" Isn't there a location marked on it? Yamato shook his head. Almost everything is written on it, but the location is not written, so we don't have any solution now. I really want to go there. I really want to walk the path that Yushin took again, but I have no choice. I know that I can't get 3 historical texts by myself, so in that case, I will give you my rightful place in history, and then let you take me there. Advertisement. This guy Daihe spoke very sincerely and didn't hide anything. This makes Sengoku feel a little weird, at this time. Sengoku thought for a while and then said, Inspector General, what do you think about this matter? Should we take them? Sengoku asked Ron for instructions. Hearing this, Yamato also looked at Ron very pitifully, hoping that Ron would agree quickly. If first don't follow Marine this time and walk the same path again, I'll have to walk the same path. Then he will probably lose this opportunity forever. Okay, then take him away. Ron doesn't care, he waved his hand. So Sengoku was relieved to use the red power. The text of history was carried on board. Placed on the huge deck of the Pluton, 3 other historical governments are present as well. Now that all 4 have been gathered together, it can be completely inferred where the endpoint of the Wada channel is. Ever since, everyone began to use various ideas to infer. Finally, connect the lines represented by these 4 points regularly. Finally found this place. If this piece of history is true, then it should be found. So Pluton immediately investigated the direction and started moving towards the location indicated above. 220. Who doesn't want to know what's on the final island? Who is responsible for looking after the house? Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Every time I go on a mission, the biggest headache is who is responsible for looking after the house. After all, stationed at the Marine headquarters is also a very difficult task. Most people don't want to look after their homes. Everyone likes to go on adventures with a boat. Therefore, every time housekeeping becomes an extremely troublesome problem. It was easier to say before Ron showed up. At that time, housekeeping was a popular job. Especially this guy Kizaru. He basically monopolizes all the housekeeping tasks. It is not enough for others to look after the house. After all, this kind of opportunity to fish does not come often, so he will not give this opportunity to anyone, but it can't be done now. Now Ron is here. It's because of your own species that you don't perform well. So Kizaru didn't dare to offer to look after the house at this time. Afraid of being misunderstood by Ron, he was going to be lazy. It was hard to explain at that time. So now he is the person most opposed to staying here to look after the house. When it comes time to decide who will be responsible for guarding Marine headquarters, Kizaru was the first to speak up. I will never stay here to guard the Marine headquarters. This kind of work is really meaningless and can only be a waste of time for no reason. I want to go to sea, perform tasks, and shine for the future of Marine. I will never do it. The kind of person who just eats and waits to die. So you choose. I will never stay here to look after the house. Advertisement. Kizaru said it with righteousness. If you don't know him well, you might think that this guy has this kind of personality. I thought he was this kind of person who loved his work from the beginning. Akainu stared at Kizaru speechlessly and said, I said enough is enough for you. Are you mentally ill? Can you be normal and shine for Marine? You can only shine. Okay, then lousy will shine? Ha ha ha. Garp was amused by the conversation between the two. Forget it, let me continue to stay here to guard the Marine headquarters, and then you go to perform the mission. Although I also want to go to Raftel, but I won't go this time. Garp laughed. Sengoku shook his head and said, No, you still have to go, so you can't stay and look after the house. For us old pirates, isn't Changchi's life just to stop pirates, and to prevent them from finding Raftel? Don't you really want to see what is on this island? Don't you want to know? Why are so many kids flocking to this place? Don't you want to know if this guy Roger lied? Sengoku said very solemnly. He understands Garp very well, so he knows that Garp must be very curious about it. For old Marines like them, this opportunity only comes once. After all, they are older, and I have been fighting for this all my life. Who doesn't want to have a result? Who doesn't want to see it and finally know what it's like? So Sengoku will never leave Garp here. He not only wants to bring Garp with him, but also Commander He. We must take these old guys to see what the secret is in Roger's mouth. Advertisement. Go and take a look at this final island that once caused chaos in the entire sea, and take a look at the One Piece, the great secret treasure that all pirates flock to. What exactly is it? But I also want to know what I have been fighting for all my life. What is he fighting against? So, he must go no matter what. Garp scratched his head, then spoke to him. That being said, there is always one person who needs to stay here to present the Marine headquarters. Although we all want to go to the final guide, it is impossible for everyone to go. There must be someone who stays. Even though I say it, I also want to know. What exactly is One Piece? I also want to know what is on the final island. But I'd better leave this opportunity to others. I'll go there next time. Garp laughed, looking indifferent. No, you'd better go with me this time. Ron suddenly stood up and said, For these old guys, maybe this is really the only opportunity in their lives to go to the final island. So Ron wanted to make their dream come true. Responsible for guarding, Marine headquarters does not need you. Although Garp is said to be very powerful, there are no dangers in the sea that are powerful enough to reach the Marine headquarters. The 4 emperors have been eliminated, and there are no enemies left worthy of someone like Garp. Therefore, there is no need for someone as strong as him to guard the Marine headquarters. The reason why when Ron led the army to attack Big Mom last time, Garp was left to guard the Marine headquarters. It was entirely because at that time there was a troublesome guy called Kaido on the sea. So it needs to be kept. Advertisement if it were anyone else, they might not be able to hold on. But things are different now. Now there are no such terrible enemies in the sea, and there is no need to worry about any pirates that Marine can't deal with. There is no need for players from cities like Garp to guard the Marine headquarters. But that doesn't mean you can just choose anyone to stay here, you still need some insurance. Garp heard Ron say this. He nodded gratefully. Thank you very much, I will go with you this time to see what this One Piece is. Have to say, Garp is still very excited. I have been chasing the Pirate King my whole life and have fought against Roger hundreds of times. So he also wanted to know what was the final island that Roger could keep searching for. But since Garp can't stay here to guard the Marine headquarters, someone else needs to be chosen. But now who doesn't want to go to the final island? Everyone wants to see what's there. So basically no one wants to stay here. This becomes a difficult question. Who is guarding here? It's impossible to really pull off an empty city plan. Although the sea is now safe enough, but it's not like he would do such a thing. Ron saw no admiral willing to stand up and stay here. It seems that one more person needs to be appointed. 221. Ron's identity is exposed. You. Or actually brother I am. Previous chapter next chapter advertisement Ron looked around. When he found out who he saw, his eyes would dodge. This is really speechless. When looking at Akainu immediately lowered his head. It was obvious that he was very unwilling to stay here to look after the house. He really wanted to know what One Piece was. So, he is now afraid that Ron will call his name and let him look after the house here. That would really drive him crazy, so he definitely doesn't want this to happen. So, when Ron looked at him, he quickly looked away and stopped looking at Ron. Ron looked at Aokiji again, and Aokiji also lowered his head and pretended not to notice the way Ron was looking at him. Have to say, in this situation, no one wants to stay here and continue to look after the house. At the same time, 810, Ron looked at Kizaru again. In fact, under normal circumstances, he would be very willing to stay at home. But he was afraid that Ron would misunderstand him for fishing. So he decided not to stay here, so when Ron looked at him, Kizaru stretched out both hands and waved. I don't plan to stay here. As for Fujitora and Green Bull, they have no intention of staying here. They had just arrived at Marine though, but they are also very curious about what is in Raftel. What is the legendary One Piece? And now that they have obtained the address of that place, everyone actually wants to go there and take a look. When Ron looked at Zephyr, this old guy did even better. Don't look at me. I definitely don't want to stay here to guard you. You should know me very well about this, so don't count on me. Advertisement no way. Everyone wants to go to Loudale as soon as possible and see One Piece as soon as possible. Even Sengoku felt speechless at this moment, these old guys. They all want to go together. That won't work, one person must be left here. If no one stays here, it will be embarrassing if something happens. So, you must arrange for trustworthy people to stay here. Seeing that no one is willing to take the initiative to stay here, Sengoku asked speechlessly. What should we do in this situation now? If we are not willing to stay here, it will be a very troublesome thing for us. Sengoku had no choice but to ask Ron. Ron Dao is very easy to solve this matter. So he smiled and said, it's okay, since they want to go, let them all go. After all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and everyone wants to witness it as soon as possible. Sengoku said awkwardly. That being said, I understand them, but after all, someone needs to guard this place, so who will guard this place? We can't really leave the Marine headquarters without any power to defend it, right? If this is the case, what if something happens? The prestige that Marine has finally built up will be gone. And the people who stay here must be very powerful, at least at the admiral level, otherwise I'm still worried. Sengoku shook his head. Falling into danger. At the moment, there is no very safe way, nor is there a good candidate. But this time, Ron named someone who made him feel so incredible that he didn't even think about it. Advertisement. I saw Ron stretching, and then said, this matter is easily resolved. I can just ask my sister to come. As soon as this statement came out, all Marines were in an uproar. What? Sengoku looked confused. Garp was also confused. The other Marine admirals were also confused. They actually didn't know who Ron's sister was, but after spending so long together, they could guess some clues. It just hasn't been confirmed. I heard Ron say this time. Everyone opened their mouths in disbelief. If that person is really the same person as they guessed, how is this possible? How can he come to help them look after the house? Totally impossible. Isn't he that person? But if it weren't for that person, why would Ron have such great influence in world government? All of a sudden, Sengoku and the others were confused. They don't know whether their guess is right or wrong, so they are all confused now. Sengoku still couldn't help it, so he asked softly. Well, who is the Inspector General's sister? Ah, I am. Ron replied very normally. What? All Marine executives couldn't help but take a few steps back. Although they have already had this idea in their minds. Advertisement, but when it comes down to it, still shocked. It's really I am. So you are Im's brother. No wonder. No wonder the 5 elders are giving you face. Sengoku took a deep breath and said, it's simply outrageous. I really didn't expect that as a celestial dragons, you would be so different. Garp shook his head. He has seen too many celestial dragons and knows what celestial dragons are like. But Ron's various performances, it doesn't look like a bunch of celestial dragons just waiting to die. That's why he felt a little surprised. Several other marine admirals also started whispering. For this result, 5.9. Even if you have been mentally prepared in advance, you are still shocked when you hear it. Sengoku waited for a long time before saying worriedly. But, can Master I am come? She has never left Marijoy. Why do you come here to look after our house? This is really incredible. Sway is the most powerful person in the world today. How could you do such a thing? However, Ron smiled and said. You don't have to worry about this. If it's my request, she will definitely come. See, Sengoku couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. This is too much face. Let I am come over to Marine's hometown, this. He couldn't even think about it before. 222. Im's luxurious escort team. Marine can't wait to see I am. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement now, in Marijoy. I am sighed helplessly. Then he said to the 5 elders who were kneeling there tremblingly. What did you just say? At this time, the 5 elders were also a little scared. After all, this request was really outrageous. They were really afraid that I am would be angry with them if they spoke out. So 5 elders was very smart and said first, this is what Master Ron asked us to convey. As long as Ron is out, they will be safe, because the 5 of them also know Im's love for Ron. This has been the case since childhood, no matter what mistakes Ron made. Imdu forgives. So they plan to move Ron out first, so that at least I am wouldn't be angry. As expected. This method really works, when the 5 elders say this. Im's face actually calmed down a bit. Oh, I see. Okay, then tell me what's going on, I am said calmly. At least there was no anger in his tone, at this time. The 5 old guys said slowly, Sir Ron asked us to tell you that we would like to invite you to the Marine headquarters. The 5 elders also spoke with trepidation. After all, the 5 of them know Yimu very well, and this guy will never leave Mary Sails. There was no way to make her leave. No one knows this better than the 5 of them. So when they got the notice from Ron, it was very difficult. On the one hand, if you don't do this according to Ron's request, you will inevitably get beaten by Ron. Advertisement, but if he followed Ron's method, he would probably be taught a lesson by IM again. Because they know that this method is not feasible. Wanting IM to go to the Marine headquarters to guard it is simply a fantasy. How is this possible? He found that no one with a normal mind would think this way. I think it's impossible. So, these 5 people are also in a panic now. After they told IM about the matter exactly as it was. Then he knelt there and didn't dare to speak, waiting for Im's decision. Then what surprised the 5 of them, IM actually nodded and said. In this case, then I'll go there, senseless. The 5 old guys were completely confused. You actually agreed? It's simply off the mark. The 5 of them never thought that IM would agree to such an outrageous request. XX. No, Imbuto never left Marijoy, and she never personally intervened in the various matters of the next term. After all, she is the king of the world, and she only needs to give orders for anything. So there is no need to do everything yourself. This is why 5 elders thought from the beginning that IM would never agree. But I never expected it. IM actually agreed. I can agree to such an outrageous request. This simply refreshed the outlook on 5 elders. Let these 5 guys look at each other, don't know what to say. Really, advertisement as long as it's Ron's request, no matter how outrageous, IM will satisfy it. This world is indeed a place where everything comes down. It is estimated that the only one who can make IM do this is Ron. The 5 elders couldn't help but sigh. The sibling relationship between these 2 people is really extraordinary. Ever since, 5 elders prepared various tasks and then took the CPO with them. Escort IM, left Marijoy, set off towards Marine headquarters. This is the first time they have come out with IM. Have to say, At this moment, all the escorts were feeling uneasy. After all, they have never protected such a heavyweight player. What if this goes wrong? That life is not guaranteed. And if you don't behave well during the escort, the boss will see you. That would be the end of it. This is the chairman. For these ordinary employees, there is no solution for the chairman to find out when they are not working hard. Actually, according to Ain's strength, no escort is needed at all. No way. This is a necessary process. After all, there are regulations in world government that any high-ranking official must have a certain size of escort team when traveling. After all, the sea was more dangerous at that time. If these top leaders of the world government were captured or killed by pirates, then it would be the world government that would be embarrassed. So, at that time, a rule was set that all world government high-speed travel must have a certain size of escort team. But it has never been said what size escort IM should be. After all, this is the boss among bosses, advertisement. The scale must not be small. Ever since, world government is making a big move this time. 5 elders personally escorted them. Everyone stood on the deck. Always be aware of your surroundings. Not only that, CPO is also fully mobilized. The entire sea area is surrounded by members of Cypher POL 027. Before IM arrived, they had already started clearing the place. Try to make sure that no one is waiting wherever IM passes. Have to say, this group of people wanted to satisfy IM. Almost all his strength was used. Everything that needs to be done or needs not to be done has been done to ultimate. Especially the 5 elders, they were afraid of any accident. They were all very nervous and focused. Soon, the escort fleet has already arrived at the marine headquarters. And this time, Ron, Sengoku and others have been waiting here for a long time. After all, only when they come over can the work handover task be completed. Ron and others can leave here and go to Raftel. All the marine admirals and marine senior executives are here at the moment. Just waiting for the handover with world government to be completed, and by the way, I can see what IM looks like. After all, this opportunity is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It is really impossible for them to see IM. Forget about these marine admiral and marine senior executives. Even Marshal Marine is not qualified to see IM, so Sengoku still doesn't know what IM looks like. And this time, finally got a chance to see it. This still saved Ron's face. 223. Ron actually hugged this woman who oppressed everyone in the audience and didn't dare to speak. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. The green cow stood on the dock, staring in the distance. Why haven't you come yet? Fujitora said in a deep voice. You're just too impatient. What's the difference between coming early and coming late? I'm just curious about what kind of character this IM is. Green Bull said. It's not just these 2 new marine admirals. Even the veteran marine admiral assassins can't wait to see this legendary Lord IM. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. At this moment, they were even more anxious to see IM than to go to Raftel. After all, this may be their only chance to see IM. This was all thanks to Ron. It will be difficult to see him later. Kizaru touched his chin and looked into the distance. Why haven't you come here yet? Akainu and Aokiji are also looking forward to it. It's just that these 2 guys didn't say it out loud. Sengoku slapped his forehead speechlessly. He never thought of it? These guys are so eager to see IM. We had agreed to go to Raftel together. Everyone was in high spirits just now, but now, no one seems to be interested in this anymore. Everyone is here waiting eagerly for it now. I want to see what the top leader of this world government looks like. Young people are young people. Sengoku sighed helplessly. Advertisement. About 3 full hours passed. At this moment, on the distant seashore, several ships finally showed their light. Coming. Marine immediately cheered. They can't wait now. After all, Marine is also a product of privilege. It also serves the world government. This is a concept engraved in the DNA of every Marine. That being the case, then they will definitely be curious about their top leader. Who is he? What does he look like? I never had the chance to know before. But now, the opportunity finally came. Everyone be quiet. It's such a commotion. Do you want to die? At this time? Stussy suddenly stood up and shouted, these guys really have no rules at all. Stussy couldn't help but frown. Even though he knew Master Yimu was coming here, he still made a fuss all day long. How unreasonable. How can you greet Sama with this attitude? What a group of guys who have never seen the world. Stussy immediately said angrily, everyone, please stand on either side of me, shut your mouths, and don't lose your composure in front of Lord Im. Do you even know what you are facing? You will die if you do this. What a bunch of idiots. Everyone reacted immediately. Everyone closed their mouths. After all, they don't know Im's temper, but they do know the 5 elders' temper. Advertisement. If they continue to greet it in this state. Estimate. When the 5 elders disembark, they will be taught a lesson. At this time, The ship escorting IM docked at the port. At this moment, Marine has lined up to welcome him. Standing in a neat military posture, everyone looked intently. Now, the first to step off the ship were the 5 elders. Changed to normal. How arrogant the 5 of them are. But at this time, these 5 people were very nervous when they got off the boat. It's like being afraid of stepping on the wrong foot. It really makes people feel a little funny. Marines on the scene. Everyone felt surprised. Is this still the 5 elders they usually know? Why doesn't it look like anything at all? When did the 5 elders become so cowardly? How does this look like the highest authority in the world government? This is exactly like a domestic servant. Never expected it. IM hasn't appeared yet. The changes in 5 elders have already brought such a big shock to everyone. This makes the Marines even more excited about IM who will appear next. What kind of person is he? Only then can 5 elders be so frightened. I saw the 5 elders stepping off the boat and standing respectfully on both sides. Bend and lower your head. Advertisement. When all the Marines saw the 5 elders like this, how could they dare to raise their heads? They all lowered their heads, at the same time. On the main ship, as soon as the figure slowly appeared on the deck. Walking on the red carpet, from the huge cruise ship, slowly walked down. This man was dressed in black robes, so solemn. With an aura that overlooks all sentient beings. All can be felt, the air has become a bit frozen. This suffocating feeling, is this the leader of the celestial dragons? Is this the real power behind world government? Watching Li Haojiao, Jin walking off the boat, one feels the oppressive feeling of a king patrolling the territory. No wonder Stussy asked them to pay attention to etiquette just now. Fortunately, she reminded them, otherwise this situation would really kill someone. However, just when everyone was so oppressed by this momentum that they couldn't breathe. When no one even dared to move, Ron suddenly walked up. Snapped. Immediately gave IM a hug, suddenly. The whole place was in an uproar. Everyone was stunned. You are seeking death. We are all so oppressed that we can hardly breathe. How dare you go up and use your hands and feet? Ron patted IM on the shoulder again and said luckily. Thank you for coming over to help look after the house. The whole audience was stunned. 224. 5 elders. Are you moving? Leave nothing behind. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Advertisement. Does this guy want to die? Oh my god, what did he do? Is he crazy? IM's appearance was really shocking. The 5 elders who are high in their hearts, he is only worthy of leading the charge. In front of one IM, act like a good baby. Is this the most powerful person in the world? Sure enough, it looks very oppressive. There is no way to even stay calm in front of such a person. All Marines here at this moment. Whether it's a Marine Marshal, a Marine Admiral, or an ordinary Marine soldier. They were all suppressed by IM's momentum, however. Precisely because of this. So, the entire audience was stunned by Ron's actions. Because they discovered that this man rushed over and hugged IM. 730. Are you crazy? I don't even know what the atmosphere is like now. Even if you are IM's biological brother, in this case. If you make such an inappropriate move, the other party will also be unhappy. Advertisement. It's very likely that the other person will get angry. But what everyone didn't expect was, IM not only not angry. Instead, he held Ron's hand. What do the two seem to be talking about? XX. All Marines' hanging hearts were finally relieved. Many people were stunned by this move before, so they kept holding their breath. Is this okay? You are worthy of being the Inspector General? Still so elusive. You don't know to call me when something good comes up. Instead, you call me over for something like this. IM looked at Ron angrily. Ron laughed and said, isn't there really no one to choose from? After all, you understand that these old guys all want to see One Piece now, so it's hard to leave anyone behind. IM shook her head, so I'm the only one with nothing to do, right? I'm not worried about letting others come, so I can only trouble you, sister, Ron said seriously. That's pretty much it. IM snorted, then he continued. Okay, now I officially take over this place, you can go. Okay. Ron and IM hugged again. All Marine watched as the two men talked. Everyone couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. This is too commonplace. Advertisement. Is this still the lofty and powerful person in the world government? Is this still the meticulous Marine Inspector General? Why are the two of them so relaxed and comfortable when they get along? Just like ordinary siblings, this had to surprise everyone. This is really beyond their impression. BF duh. Ron came back. At the moment of looking back, his expression became very serious again. His tone became harsh again. Hey, this change of attitude is happening too fast. Why do you put on a dead face when you talk to us? Why do you have a warm face when you talk to IM? All Marine couldn't help but complain in his mind. I saw Ron saying to all Marine members, leave this to IM, everyone follows orders. Let's go to Raftel, Suddenly all Marines burst into fierce applause. Finally we can go to Loudale, this is Marine's lifelong dream. Now, everyone has a share, everyone can go immediately. For a while, the whole army was in an uproar, and then waited to board the warship. This scene, advertisement, it also made the 5 elders blush. Bis. You are not leaving anyone alone. Do you want to take all the Marines out of here? Why don't you save some Marines to start with? I'm impressed by you, you idiot. Before we come here, you didn't say you all should leave. This huge Marine fort, just let thousands of us guard it? We don't have enough manpower. Having said that, when did you, the 6th generation, build so many warships? Can all Marines be installed? Brother, are you going for an outing? This is too much. The 5 elders couldn't help but become even more speechless when they saw Marine carrying food to the warship one after another. You and Lao Lu didn't even leave any extra food for him. Just let us fend for ourselves? If you let us take care of your house, you still have to solve the food problem yourself, right? Be a human being, if it weren't for Lord Im's sake. After a while, everyone here at Marine is ready. The opportunity took away everything that Ma Lin Fenduo could take away. 5 elders. You must be moving. Is this a move to Loudale? 225. I am feeling Ron's changes at the Marine headquarters. Previous chapter, next chapter advertisement. My room is on the left side of the headquarters, the one with the sentence barbell at the door. Ron shook the key with his hand and threw it to IM. He knew that IM was not used to living in other houses. IM nodded and took the key silently. After a pause, he said, 7 days, don't take too long. Yeah, try your best. Ron turned around, waved to IM, and then walked towards the dock. IM also turned around. The whole person suddenly regained the aura of the Supreme King. The 5 elders and other world government dignitaries immediately followed behind. Then everyone walked towards the Marine headquarters. After a while, IM watched the warship slowly leave the port, until it disappears at the end of the field of vision. Then he looked around the Marine headquarters. Hard to imagine. In less than half a year, the entire world was turned upside down. This younger brother of my own, it's really awesome. When he left Marijoy half a year ago, he said he wanted to change Marine and change the world. IM just thought he was joking. Advertisement at that time, I just wanted to let him go down and have some fun. But who would have thought? Half a year, changes in the sea. The entire Marine has actually been changed. IM has been following Marine since I came here. It was found that both their momentum and military discipline had changed from the inside out. This is what a true soldier looks like, before doing it instead. IM can't even imagine it. Although this time, on the one hand, it was to help Ron look after the Marine headquarters. On the other hand, it is also to inspect what changes have taken place in Marine. Although she said she had been paying attention to Ron, after all, the information she heard came from others. It is not as real as experiencing it personally, seeing it in person, and feeling it. So, I am planning to come and see for myself how Ron has managed Marine. You don't know if you don't see it. I was really shocked when I saw it. I am watching Ron and others leave here, with the 5 elders and world government senior officials, walking slowly throughout the Marine headquarters. Feel the changes here. It turns out that not only the Marine personnel have changed, but the entire Marine base has also undergone great changes. Advertisement: there are a lot more training grounds here. Lots of training equipment, and Marine's defense facilities have also been strengthened to a certain extent. There will no longer be a situation where someone breaks into Marine without knowing it. The layout of the entire building has also become extremely reasonable. I am spent nearly a day. I walked through every inch of this place. Feeling the changes Ron has made here, this younger brother is really amazing. Even the 5 elders were tired from walking, but the 5 of them still hunched over and followed behind without making a sound. You 5 old guys, I have handed over the world government to you for so many years, and the achievements you have made are not even as good as what Ron has made in Marine for half a month. Im's tone was obviously unhappy. 5 elders got chills down their spines after listening to this. This is what they are afraid of. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. I'm afraid I am comparing them with Ron. There is no harm without contrast. In the past, the 5 of them did not seek merit in their work, but sought no faults. Without comparison, they were considered to have done well. But now suddenly here comes Ron, a catfish, by contrast. It just seemed like they were a little lazy. 5 elders admitted their mistakes one after another. What a joke. What are they comparing to Ron? Advertisement. What is their strength? What is your strength? No matter what people do, at least they have their own strength to back it up, and they will never fall over no matter what. The 5 of them would not dare to do this. All 5 of them can think of it, if the 5 of them initiate these reforms at Marine headquarters. First guess Marine Admiral has already started working with them. Without strength and prestige, there is no use for this matter. Now, Ron, along with almost all members of the Marine headquarters, has set foot on the New World's waterway. On the deck of the Pluton, a huge map lies on the ground. The historical texts of the 4 road signs are placed in corresponding positions. Through the connection of 4 maps, the intersection points are marked. And at that intersection location on the map, just finally knowing Lovedale. Although looking at the map, there is nothing there, just a sea. But, everybody knows, follow the map directions. When walking there, you will find the final island of Raftel River. 226. 4 Emperors Buggy. Ron is a good commander. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Marine and his team. After sailing on the sea for more than 10 days. Along the way, there was basically no situation where he was invited. The whole sea is peaceful and calm, after all. The big pirates have been wiped out by Marine, the remaining little thieves. Nor can it become a climate, now it's too late for them to hide from Marine. It is even more impossible to appear in front of such a large Marine fleet. So, Marine has really had a lot of fun along the way. Just treat it as a holiday, and everyone is having a good time on the warship. 560. Morning training, catch fish at noon, continue training in the afternoon. Bonfire barbecue in the evening. These hundreds of warships. At night, all the bonfires were lit, and the soldiers were singing and dancing on the deck. Certainly, this is all Ron allowed, after all. Advertisement. Marine in the past 6 months, always working at high intensity. Fight against all the 4 emperors one after another. Didn't get a good rest either. So, Ron also wanted to take advantage of this moment. Let everyone relax. Ron is not the kind of leader who squeezes his employees all the time. Another day at noon, Marine soldiers are fishing and preparing for the bonfire party in the evening. Sengoku looked at this scene, although it was not in line with his management style. But after all, it was Ron's arrangement, so he couldn't say much. Several admirals are here at the moment, compared to soldiers. The performance of these admirals these days is really beyond Sengoku's expectations. Surprisingly hard work, especially this guy Kizaru. If according to his normal character, I no longer know where to hide to bask in the sun. It is estimated that Sengoku will not see his shadow along the way. But this time, not only was Kizaru not lazy, instead, I get up early every morning. Then he would always appear where Ron could see him, intentionally or unintentionally. Pretend to be serious about your work. Every time Sengoku sees Kizaru, his face darkens. Advertisement. This guy is so shameless right now. This time, while Admiral is here, Sengoku pointed at the map. He said in a deep voice, at the current speed, we can reach Raftel in 2 days of sailing. It is indeed the final island. The closer we get here, the fewer people there are. Now we can no longer see any ship beds. Sengoku sighed. Of course. If there were more people the closer you got, then Raftel would have been discovered long ago. Garp laughed. However, when everyone was talking and laughing, just on this originally endless sea, a fleet of ships suddenly collided with Marine. Sengoku. Garp's old face darkened. Unexpectedly, as soon as I finished speaking, I was slapped in the face. I saw the image of Buggy the Clown hanging on the fleet flag. Isn't this the Sea Express Company of Buggy the Clown? Why is it here? Kizaru leaned on the railing while cutting my nails. He said with a crooked mouth, these guys are now engaged in serious business. Akainu snorted coldly. This is a very troublesome question. What should we do if we encounter this situation? After all, they were pirates before and escaped from prison, but now they are working seriously. Should we still arrest them? Aokiji scratched his head and said, about this issue. Still don't know how to deal with it. After all, he has become a good person now. Sengoku doesn't know how to deal with this problem either. Go call Inspector General Ron down and get his opinion. Advertisement. At this moment, Ron is exercising in the training room. Almost all the famous pirates in this sea have been killed by Marine. But there is no guarantee that there won't be any pirates. There are some pirates they are still engaged in plundering on the sea overtly or covertly. There are even some smarter pirates. I have begun to think about the issue of transformation. I want to clear myself up. Some started courier work. Just like Buggy the Clown. This guy actually organized the prisoners who escaped from Haley 5.3 prison and opened a courier company together. Through disguise. Under Marine's nose, still doing well. These few months, it has never been discovered. Now, he didn't think of it either, we can actually encounter Marine's fleet here. Buggy is confused. I have never seen such a large-scale operation by Marine. What are these guys here for? Wrong, what are you afraid of? Now I am a serious company, can Marine still attack them? 227. Should I be forgiven once I have been cleansed? Ron sets the rules. Previous chapter. Next chapter advertisement. Buggy the Clown. Standing on the bow of the ship now, wearing an oversized dress. Use his ability to fall apart to expand your clothes. So the little hand looks huge at the moment. He was frowning at the moment. He didn't expect to encounter Marine's large army here. This is too unlucky. and he had never seen Marine dispatch such a large force. I don't know what exactly this is going to do, it's really a headache. If the two sides fought here, they wouldn't be able to hold on for even a minute. There must be no fighting, but Buggy thought about it carefully. After all, I am now a formal company with legal procedures. Not even a pirate. Marine had no reason to attack him. So he doesn't have to worry at all, don't be afraid either. Just walk over with a swagger, you can even say hello to Marine. Think of this. Buggy finally felt relieved, and at this moment. 15 the boys behind him. Seeing so many Marines, everyone couldn't help but get excited. Advertisement started booing from behind. Boss Buggy, our opportunity has come. That's right, Boss Buggy. We've been waiting for this moment since we followed you. Marine has killed all the 4 emperors. If we kill Marine at this time, wouldn't we be worthy of the name One Piece? What are you waiting for, boss? The opportunity is right in front of you. Let's hurry up. Buggy almost stumbled and fell into the sea. The old man's face darkened. Are you not sick? Are you crazy? Didn't you see the scale of the other party? If you rush forward now, you are not seeking death. Who do you think I am? Buggy was really speechless. Isn't this nonsense? It was because he was in the age of great pirates that he took these escaped prisoners with him. After all, you can directly strengthen your own strength. But now this group of people has become a hot potato. Buggy can't get rid of him even if he wants to, it's really a headache. If you have these guys following you, something will happen to you sooner or later. Buggy coughed twice before and said, ahem, everyone, please be quiet. We are a regular company, not pirates, now, on the Pluton number. Sengoku asked someone to invite Ron out of the training room. Ron happened to have just finished a set of training. Advertisement only then did we come to the deck. Oh, what's the matter? Ron said calmly while wiping his sweat. Then, Sengoku pointed at the clown Buggy fleet ahead. Said, this is the old clown Buggy, who was also a pirate, but recently they started a company, and they don't fly the pirate flag anymore. But his men are all former escaped convicts, but the problem is that since Jun joined a regular company, he has never done anything like a pirate. So how to deal with this situation? Since we met here, should we arrest him or not? This question is indeed very difficult. Sengoku doesn't know how to deal with it. How should Marine treat the pirates who have returned to evil in the past? If they are caught, then the pirates in the future will not dare to put down the butcher knife. Regardless of whether they correct their evil ways or not, Marine will catch them, so it is better to go all the way to the dark side. If you don't catch them, then the pirates will think that it doesn't matter as long as they change their ways and they will be safe, so they will be more bold at sea. So I really don't know how to deal with this problem. No matter which one you choose, the impact will be huge. Sengoku couldn't make up his mind, that's why I asked Ling En. After all, this guy gives perfect answers every time. Ron looked up at Buggy not far away. Suddenly I remembered that this guy seemed to run a courier company. This is a good direction. Across the entire sea, this business is so promising. No Marine currently has huge military expenditures. After all, the army has been expanded a lot, Marine offices are located on all islands. This increases Marine's military expenditure. Advertisement. But Ron thought about it carefully, you can take advantage of this layout to start official logistics. In this way, not only can you easily afford military expenses, but you can also make a lot of money. After all, the sea is relatively peaceful now. If you want to raise so many troops, you must let them do something. Sengoku watched Ron lost in thought. I thought he was also bothered by this problem. Inspector General. Look. Sengoku's words interrupted Ron's thoughts. Ron is not bothered at all about how to deal with Buggy. He was just thinking about Marine's employment, but he can think about this issue later. Let's answer Sengoku's words first, this is easy to handle. Kizaru, Akainu, you two lead people to surround you and capture them all. No one can escape. Ron gave the order directly. Kizaru Akainu and his 2 men set off directly without hesitation, taking 2 fleets, one on the left and one on the right. Sengoku didn't expect Ron to give such a decisive order. Ron looked at Sengoku's confused look, then he said, pirates will be severely punished. Once they are pirates, they will always be pirates. The mistakes they have made will not be forgiven just because they change their ways. As long as you make a mistake, you must accept punishment. Besides, aren't there men all prisoners who escaped from prison not long ago? This is even more unforgivable. Besides, these people are all time bombs. We don't have the time to be wary of them all the time, so we have to deal with them once and for all. Just deal with this kind of problem in the future. After Ron finished speaking, he didn't even look at Sengoku or the clown Buggy pirates in the distance. He turned around and returned to the training room. Only the senior executives of Marine were left standing here in stunned silence. Think carefully about Ron's words. 228. These are the rules set by Inspector General Ron. Do you have any objections? Previous chapter next chapter advertisement Buggy the Clown is still feeling triumphant at this moment. After all, as long as you figure out that you are a legitimate company, you don't have to be afraid of Marine. No matter what, Marine would never take action against their regular company. Otherwise, Marine would become one of those innocent people. Just make a fuss about it yourself. The other party has nothing to do with him. Think of this. The clown leads the fleet, strutting and sailing in a straight line. He even wanted to go over and say hello to Marine. At this time, suddenly, I found a fleet on each side approaching. Buggy the Clown was stunned. Then he immediately ordered his men to get telescopes. You don't know this by looking at it, and you'll be shocked when you see it. On the left is the fleet led by Marine Admiral Kizaru. On the right is the fleet led by Marine Admiral Akainu. What? Marine, what are you doing? Buggy the Clown is confused. The third brother of the Candleman suddenly said. They're here to catch us, right? Advertisement. Shut up. How is this possible? We are a regular company. Buggy the Clown was already a little panicked. At this time, the escaped convict's subordinates began to make noise again. Boss Buggy, it's you as expected. Marine will send 2 Marine admirals to deal with you. Yeah, it must be because Sengoku knows that a big gun can't deal with Buggy. Only 2 admirals come together to have a chance to win the boss. But they still underestimate the boss. Even if 2 Marine admirals come, the boss won't be afraid. Right, boss. Buggy has a black line on his face. God damn, even if 2 admirals come, they won't be afraid. They can't beat even 1, okay? Are you kidding? These are 2 Marine admirals. Who can deal with 2 Marine admirals on this sea? These guys think too highly of themselves. Don't follow me and start making noises. What if these 2 Marine admirals hear me later? The most important thing now is to quickly explain to Marine that they are a formal company. Instead of having a conflict with Marine, boss, give the order quickly. Let us kill these Marines. That's right, I've stopped looking down on them a long time ago. This time they've thrown themselves into a trap. Give the order, boss. These escaped prisoners are extremely excited now. Only Buggy and a few of his cadres were so frightened that their legs were shaking. Are you kidding me? I'm going to die. Advertisement? A Marine fleet of this size roams the sea. Who dares to take the initiative to provoke? I don't want to live anymore. Get me the communication phone, Bug, quickly. I want to talk to Marshal Marine. Buggy immediately said, Great, boss is going to declare a challenge to Marine. These subordinates said excitedly. Buggy is speechless. The phone is connected. This is a short-range communication phone, just like a walkie-talkie. As long as you are within a certain distance on the sea, you can directly dial the phone on the other side. Hello? Sengoku stood at the bow of the boat. Of course he knew it was the clown calling. Marshal Sengoku, what do you mean by Marine? We are just a regular merchant ship and a serious company. Why do you want 2 admirals to come and surround us? Buggy said hurriedly. I'm afraid that Marine doesn't know that they are a legitimate company. Then he hit the wrong person. I know, Sengoku said calmly. Since you know this, don't let these 2 admirals withdraw. Buggy the Clown was immediately delighted. However, Sengoku said coldly. But you were pirates before. I'm really sorry, we just made new rules. Anyone who was a pirate before must be eliminated. What? Buggy the Clown was stunned, and his face turned pale. When was this rule made? Who made the rule? Why didn't I know? Advertisement, Inspector General Ron just decided it. It's not too late for you to know now. Toot toot. When Sengoku finished saying this, he hung up the phone. Buggy the Clown plopped down directly on the ground. It's that Ron again. Damn it, it's over, it's over. At this time, suddenly Marines started attacking from left and right. Bang 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 bang. The fleets on both sides of the Buggy pirates were all severely damaged. Boys, attack. Buggy knew it was useless to say anything at this time. It's better to take the opportunity to let these desperate men find a way to survive. Anyway, they are excited now. Then he took the opportunity to escape. As expected. After Buggy gave the order, these men began to get excited. He raised his weapon and shouted. Great, kill Marine. Kill Marine and we will become the Pirate King. As expected of the boss. We didn't follow the wrong person. Buggy's old face darkened. These guys didn't know Marine's terror.